in nerds, about to usher in the red tide.
2. Check. Hello, 2. Check. What is up? Plunger Man. Plunger Man. Thank you so much. 16 months. Resub at tier 2 from Plunger Man. Thank you very much, Plunger Man. What's up, friends? People are pointing out the shirt I'm wearing. And now, as soon as I came on camera, I was like, shit, maybe I should have worn this shirt tomorrow. I didn't plan this out. Maybe I should have worn this shirt tomorrow. I got a big interview tomorrow with VJ Prashad. I got to be on my best. Looking my best. Looking sharp. And I think I'm wearing the good shirt too early now. Wear it again? That's a bold maneuver. Certainly I'm not above that. Wear it again? That's the consensus? Interesting. BJ's a fan of good t-shirts. That's true, Grom. I was talking yesterday about how we got new merch coming. We got new TRRS merch coming. And I think I'm going to try and send some to VJ. Trying to send him a shirt. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. Sunny Sola, thank you for the gifted sub. Sunny Sola, thank you. Slub to rib, indeed. Many are saying this. It's the hot new trend. Sweeping the nation. All the youth, all the Zoomers are talking about this on TikTok and all the other apps. The slub to rib trend. If you're a parent, you need to stay informed about this. You have to make sure that they are, in fact, continuing to subscribe to this very program. I'm excited to see VJ tomorrow too, G Cluppy. I actually need to check. I need to check this, okay? Because when was it?
And so on.
What's the actual date? Why can't I see the date on this thing? February 5th. Okay. So it's not 1 year to the day since VJ was last on the show. Almost a year to the day. It's like 1 week. It was February 5th. So, yeah, a little more than a week. 51 weeks. So, I'm really excited just in kind of that context for VJ to come back to the show because, like, it's a really good, I think, starting point to a discussion because we can talk about what was going on last year when we were talking and what has happened in the year since he's been on the show. I think it's a really good kind of entry point to a really cool discussion talking about Russia and Ukraine. In fact, I was thinking about like the second annual VJ episode. Yeah, tell him to come back in another 51 weeks for sure. I was thinking maybe today we could even look at, maybe not the whole interview, but we could look at my talk from VJ last year. And because I just think it's interesting because it's right before the Russian-Ukraine war kicked off. There's all kinds of talk about that. There's some really interesting discussion that I think a year later is going to be really pertinent to see like where he was at and what the discussions we were having. Anything interesting happen? Yeah, no, not really. But I think that's really cool. Almost a year to the day. Clip episode, that's right. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we do. But I'm really looking forward tomorrow to talk to our friend, official elite member of Twitch's only two-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. Truly an elite member of the Friendship Triangle community, Vijay Prashad, joining this very program tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to keep promoting this. Going to keep promoting this all day. It's going to be a really explosive conversation. I'm going to be at work. Well, that's all right, Judas. I'm not calling you a Judas because you have to be at work. Like, okay, Judas. Not going to be here because of your job. No, that's your actual name on Twitch. So, but we'll make sure to clip it. We will be clipping it. You'll be able to catch it on YouTube or on here on Twitch at your earliest convenience. You are a Judas. If you cannot watch TRRS, no matter what the excuse, job, family, incident in the hospital, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Get that shit out of here. Get that shit out of my face. Yeah, half the time Johnny's driving. He's literally putting his life on the line to tune into this program. What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? What sacrifices are you making for this community? I sacrifice. Look at me. I'm here day in, day out. Sacrificing so that you can be entertained
to talk you through all this
and informed.
Getting 5 of my friends to join the triangle. Then all they have to do is get 5 of their friends to join. What a genius scheme, if you will.
I mean, that's the great thing about it, Quaker Oats guy, and thank you very much for the 15 months, of Tier 1. Very much appreciated, and that's right. And like the beauty is that we all benefit from that. We all get more friends. All of us. You know, not just me, not just you. The more people that come into the community, the better. So it's really just a win-win-win situation for everybody. I swear to God, though, if your interview with him goes on for 4 hours and I have to miss the VJ parts because my stream starts at 6 p.m., rain or shine, I'm going to be pissed. Don't worry, Johnny. Well, I mean, he's coming on at 3. He doesn't have all day. It'll probably be 3 to 4 p.m. because after that, I'm going to have to go and pick up my kid from school. So
you can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I can't believe I got bullied into subscribing.
Thank you, liar Judas. You may be a Judas who's missing the interview tomorrow, which is very unfortunate. But you're redeemed. Much, you're in a story, a redemption story straight out of the New Testament. You have redeemed yourself. You've totally redeemed yourself. Thank you for the 2 months of Tier 1, liar Judas. Thank you. So last night, very fun TRRS movie night. Last night, watching Ridley Scott's 1978 masterpiece, Alien, with the community last night was very enjoyable. Just one of the greatest films of all time. Had a very fun time hanging out with the folks in this community on the Discord server. Watching Alien was so cool. I just loved the movie so much. I know there was people in the community that hadn't even seen it before. Very fun. There are a couple of good scares in there that I'd forgotten about. They got me good. I think, like, what always gets me... Like, there's some good scares in the movie, but just that sense of dread and the way the tension builds in that movie is really just still unparalleled. You know, the terror in these moments, like the scene with Brett, and the score goes down. There's no score, and the heartbeat kicks up in the background. And just that kind of sense of dread of being like alone, so far away from anything, trapped in this like this you know, steel box. This is fucking trapped in this dungeon in the cold of space, being pursued by this absolute horrifying monster. God, it's just the worst situation. It's the worst situation to find yourself in. Chin chin, everybody. Hello, Husker. What is up? That was very fun. And so next week, Aliens. Next week, James Cameron's epic sequel to Alien. It's the most unlikely thing. Like, you'd think, you know, it's really not a movie that you think, oh, we're going to do this big kind of blockbuster kind of action style follow-up. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. And James Cameron somehow took this absolute masterpiece of the genre, put his own spin on it, brought it into a totally different direction, put his own spin on it, added to like the life cycle of this creature in interesting ways, and just absolutely called his shot and just hit a fucking grand slam. You know, I don't know if Aliens is a better movie. I think Alien is just such a masterpiece. It's like on an objective, like artistic level, it's just such a masterpiece. But Aliens is just, it's so much better than it ever had any right to be. Not only a worthy follow-up to this complete masterpiece film, but just one of the best sequels of all time. Just an amazing movie in its own right. So excited to watch it. So excited to watch it with you folks. It's hard for me not to give the nod to the movie that created the whole lore, aesthetic, etc. in the case of any sequels. I will say, though, that James Cameron did add to the lore in really imaginative and integral ways. Like, the whole life cycle of the alien wasn't really, in the original film, it's not really spelled out. And in fact, I was talking about the director's cut. There are some deleted scenes where, I know there's a deleted scene at the end of the movie when Ripley's escaping and she runs into Dallas and Brett, who are still around, and Dallas has been like cocooned, and the alien has turned Brett into an egg. So there's like a new egg that's growing out of Brett, basically. And that's why the alien is supposed to all like lethargic at the end of the movie when Ripley discovers it in the shuttle, because it's like dying. It's like at the end of its life cycle. But then James Cameron added all this stuff to the mythology of the creature and the life cycle and the lore and everything like that I think just updated in such a fucking great way. So looking forward to it. So looking forward to it. Amazing as well, you know, talking with all you folks while watching the movie, how like all this bullshit nonsense from these like completely culturally illiterate fucks, these reactionaries who call everything woke now, and just the deeply political messages about capitalism, about feminism, the imagery of like sexual violence and stuff like that's pervasive in this movie against women. All the stuff, like the whole Marxist reading of it, where you have Brett and Parker basically working in the dungeon of the ship, doing all the hard work to make the actual ship fly, to tow billions of dollars worth of ore to this vast company, multinational corporation, and being paid shit and constantly complaining about their salary and being told to shut the fuck up. And oh yeah, by the way, you have to go explore this dangerous planet or else you lose all your money. So many interesting political readings of that, you know? And it's amazing. And that's what it's so funny whenever you have like all these people that are obsessed with Brie Larson or whatever, and now they say like, you know, or anytime there's a female action hero, they're like, no, it's not like, you know, it's not like in the past with movies with Ripley and Sarah Connor and these kind of feminine heroes and stuff like that. All these people that complain about Brie Larson, though, would have been in 1978. If there was a YouTube in 1978, they would have been hooting and hollering about Ripley, how she's a Mary Sue, and how it's woke feminist propaganda and all this bullshit. So these people, the YouTube Brie Larson haters, do not get to claim Ripley. You don't get to. Sorry, you're not allowed. You don't get it. These people would have been fucking frothing at the mouth complaining about the woke propaganda and Alien and Aliens if there was a YouTube in the late 70s and 80s. I love the fact that we have so many characters in Aliens that I would love to see as the protagonist, but they aren't. They're both great films for sure. And I thought that's so interesting about the Alien as well, like the one we watched last night, where first of all the cast is just every single cast member is just a fucking heavy hitter, you know, with Harry Dean Stanton and Yaphet Kotto and Veronica Cartwright, fucking John Hurt, Tom Skerritt, Ian Holm, like they're all just like fucking legends. They're all just heavy hitters. And at first it's not even really clear who the main character is. Ripley is like this rules obsessed scold, basically. That's how she's presented in the beginning of the movie. Probably if you were watching it for the first time, you think she's going to be like kind of a throwaway character that ends up getting eaten. And then it's just so cool how the plot develops and how that her character kind of emerges and how she's correct the entire time. It's so amazing. You can talk about the woke propaganda. That scene is so fucking amazing when they're bringing Kane back on the ship with the alien parasite on his face, and she's just like, "No, you can't come on the ship. No, absolutely not. It's against the protocols. We're not bringing a parasite onto the ship. It's dangerous for everyone." And they're all just like, "Bah, shut up. Shut up, Ripley." They're just mansplaining to her. And then she's like going in and like calmly confronting the science officer Ash, who directly ignored her, and just not being I was watching it with my partner last night at the same time, and she was very like those really spoke to her, those scenes when she's being ignored, her advice is being ignored, and like she's like politely confronting these people that are just like completely disrespecting her and not seeming hysterical and not seeming too overbearing or whatever. It's so great. What a great performance and what a great subtext, you know? It's so cool. And Ash is weird, but if you've never seen it, you never guess where it's going. Yeah, and I love just talking about the alien, you know, the perfect organism. Unbridled by conscience or remorse or whatever it is that he says. And the parallels with this Leviathan, this massive corporation that they all work for, that he's like the emissary of. Brie Larson was not in The Room. No, she was in Room, which is actually a pretty good movie. Pretty good movie. I've talked to, I mean, I did a whole segment on this like a year and a half ago or whatever, but there's a really amazing, for anyone that's never seen these films, there's just a really amazing trio of films that all came out in 1978. They're three of my favorite films ever, that are all kind of like science fiction horror movies that all have really, really interesting Marxist themes that you can examine. And they all came out in 78. Veronica Cartwright's in two of them, speaking to how much of a legend she is. But it's Alien, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and Dawn of the Dead. Amazing trilogy of 1978 horror and science fiction films that have really, really interesting themes and subtext. Really interesting kind of Marxist readings of all of these. Hooligan Grundy, jeez. I've never seen that in the chat. Points at you. People pointing and screeching is very, very alarming. My goodness. Anyway, that was very fun. We'll do Aliens next week. Please join the Discord server if you're not in there already. And you can be a part of watching James Cameron's epic sequel next week. I don't think we're going to do weekly. No, I know the Body Snatchers. I got it. Hooligan Grundy. I don't think we're going to be doing weekly movie nights. I think it's maybe a little ambitious, but like at least bi-monthly, or maybe monthly is more of a realistic thing. But we can start doing them regularly though, because I always do really enjoy it, and I love showing films from the Rob canon. What did I do? What are we clipping? Oh, clipping the movie thing. Okay, yeah. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. As always, for me, always the impediment to me being able to like do stuff in this community or in general at night is my kid sleeping. That's always been the hardest part. He hates to sleep. He's a late sleeper. And, you know, it's really hard for me to like plan to do things at like 10:30, 11 generally, which is around the time that I would be finished getting him to go to sleep usually. But we have started to have a little bit more success with that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. In fact, people in this chat and others have recommended that we give him melatonin, which we checked into and got the okay on, and it's been very helpful. It's been really helpful. He's actually starting to go to bed at like normal times for the first time in probably like 3 or 4 years, which is like kind of crazy. I take that now to fix my sleep cycle. Matt can't sleep with melatonin. Yeah, and like that's what seems to be okay about it. Like, it's not like it's sleeping. It's not like it's a sleeping pill or anything. But my issue with him was always like we go to put him to bed, and even if he's been up all day, exercising all day, he's in bed. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and he's still just like blah, 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 talking. His brain is just going like 1,000 miles an hour, and it's just like that would be a source of frustration for me because it's just like just biologically, so like you should be sleepy right now. You should be tired, and you just would not be. And now over the last like couple of weeks or so, we actually start to go to bed at like a normal time, and I'm in bed with it. We're hanging out, and I'm reading him a story, and what have you. And I can tell, it's like, oh, you're actually tired. Like you're actually tired right now. I'm so not used to this. I'm so not used to like you being in bed at nighttime at a normal time and like being like visibly tired. You know, I'm just like, it's completely foreign to me. So that's if we can kind of be consistent with that, I am able to do a little bit more stuff at night that I probably wasn't able to do previously. Children are low-key terrifying like that. I've been with my nieces and nephews like, how are you still running around? Well, yeah, Sean, that's it. It's like, it's hard. That's very hard. It's hard not really having time to do anything at night, you know, or by the time, you know, but during the holidays, he was going to bed at like 11. It's like, I was just kind of just like, this is so late. And at that time, it's just, I'm so exhausted myself that it's basically impossible to do anything after that time. So just the fact that like that started to go, there's been a sense of normalcy there. All of a sudden, it's been like very, a huge difference. Like all of a sudden there's a little bit of time to, you know, watch a film, you know, do other stuff, hang out, you know. It's been kind of a game changer. So that's why I feel comfortable committing to viewing James Cameron's epic sequel, Aliens, in the Discord server tomorrow. Hello, Ali. What's up? Hello, B-Rat. How's it going? Stop it, Lodane. Stop that. Are you familiar with James Cameron's best film, True Lies? I mean, listen, I love James Cameron. I love Schwarzenegger. I do love True Lies. I wouldn't call it James Cameron's best film, but I'm certainly not a True Lies hater either. I think it's very good. Bill Paxton, in particular, almost steals the entire movie. talk about, I mean, not only does he almost steal the entire movie of Aliens, which we're going to see next week, he shows up in True Lies and almost steals the entire damn movie as well. He's just so great. True Lies is fantastic. Yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time either, but doesn't the terrorist group in True Lies, like, don't they make a lot of points? Like, isn't the, like, I would need to see the film again, but isn't the terrorist in the film, like, when he explains his actions, aren't you kind of like, yeah, okay, like, he kind of starts spitting a little bit. My dad tried to make a bootleg cut of it without the striptease scene so I could watch it unsupervised. If Aliens is his almost left-wing movie, then True Lies is his hardcore Reaganite movie. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's basically doing like a CIA James Bond kind of epic adventure. So definitely not my favorite James Cameron film. You know, I think it's very enjoyable, a little problematic on a couple of levels. I would put it behind Terminator and T2 and Aliens and The Abyss and the Avatar films, frankly. It's maybe my least favorite James Cameron movie, but there's still a lot to enjoy about it. Particularly Bill Paxton's performance. Bill Paxton is just terrific. I've only seen clips of Hercules in New York. The dubbing is really bad. I love, though, Pumping Iron. Pumping Iron is so great. And that's the thing, you know, Schwarzenegger's a kind of ridiculous character. He obviously, his accent and his acting got made fun of a lot. And, you know, don't want to suggest that he's some like perfect good person or anything like that. I don't think that's really true either. The reality is, though, you can make fun of Schwarzenegger's accent or his acting, but 4 Schwarzenegger movies are in my top 10 films of all time. And no other actor could make that claim. So make of that what you will. Schwarzenegger is just one of those guys who's born to be a movie star. He's magnetic on screen. Yeah, G Club, I don't know if you've seen Pumping Iron, when he's still just like an Olympian and a bodybuilder, but you see him in that film and his charisma that he has, and you're just like, of course this guy, this Austrian meathead, of course he became like a massive Hollywood superstar. It just, as unlikely as it is, you see him and you see his charisma and you're just like, of course, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Kindergarten Cop is good as well, although that's not one of the films that I was talking about in my top 10 films. He isn't that much of a meathead. Well, I just mean in terms of his like physique. What charisma? Essentially, you evidently haven't seen Pumping Iron. He's the one Austrian that you do have to hand it to, not like the other one who you don't. And I mean, you don't have to entirely hand it to him either, and shouldn't. But the 4 films are Terminator, Terminator 2, Predator, and Total Recall. Like, that's one of the best runs in Hollywood history. No, I've never watched T2 with the Arnold commentary. That sounds tremendous, though. That sounds great. That sounds very entertaining. he governed the hell out of California. Otherwise, why would they have called him the Governator? I believe that gay marriage should be reserved for a man and a woman. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what most American politicians believed for up until very recently, like Obama and all these progressive champions as well, you know? I certainly don't endorse every single one of lifelong Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger's political beliefs. That is 100% true. Again, who was someone who was like a Reaganite symbol of like American, even though he's Austrian, but like American military dominance. Like he was like a figurehead of like American propaganda in the 80s, running roughshod all over these like Latin American guerrillas and projecting American power around the globe. He was a big part of that, and that's not good. That's not good at all. Although I must say that Predator is it's interesting the way it like kind of subverts that, and how they're literally like they're tricked by the CIA into going in there and assassinating all these guerrillas. Even more incredible is that he was inspired to get into politics by Jesse Ventura. Okay, you know what, Johnny? A couple months ago, I reached out to Jesse Ventura's. I reached out to Jesse Ventura and I got a response from someone connected to his team, and I need to renew my quest to get on that this year. So you get Jesse Ventura to come on this program. We can do this, and I literally just need to follow up on this DM that I got a couple months ago. We will get former governor of Minnesota and star of Predator and Running Man, another Schwarzenegger flick, and other famous films, and also famous professional wrestler as well, Jesse the Body Ventura. We'll get him on the program. I literally just have to follow up with the DM I got about it. And I can ask him personally, Johnny, about the very thing that you just mentioned. Yeah, you get to voice check, Lodane. That's right. Even if it's a Zoom call, Lodane, we'll get you in there. I don't know if that is a sure thing, James, because I think the conservative movement was going in a more reactionary direction, and that's why Trump became that figure for the Republican Party. Schwarzenegger was trying to be like a conservative that cared about climate and that brought people together, but the conservative movement's not interested in that shit. The conservative movement needs someone like Trump who's going to speak to their lowest common denominator, basic impulses, Schwarzenegger, he's basically like a liberal compared to according to most of the base, the conservative base, It's amazing when I put on 80s WWF and the minute I hear him bickering with Monsoon, I start chuckling. What a legend. What an absolute legend. Yeah, I love that booth. Ventura and Monsoon, that's still one of the all-time best two-man booths in wrestling. Well, if it isn't famous victims of communism didn't hire Rob, how the hell are you, sir? I see your tweets continue to make waves. Should we look at that? Did folks see that I got into a little spat? I got into a little online spat last night with famed conservative commentator and activist Cat Turd 2. Me and Cat Turd 2 are mixing it up. Two heavyweights. It is approaching beef territory. It's approaching beef territory. Should we do a little beef update? We could. I know I've tried to renounce the beef. I've tried to suggest that I'm not going to be engaging any more beefs, that I've squashed all my various beefs. that I've accrued over the years, but we might have to pick it up. We might have to pick back up. Oh, where's the... Please, someone. I know in the Discord there's a video clip that I can play right now. I know there's in the Discord there's a video clip that I can play right now as an intro to this segment, and I don't remember what it is, and I can't remember how I can find it. But please, someone from the Discord server, you know what I'm talking about. Someone a few months ago posted a video clip in the Discord that could be an intro to this segment. And I need, right now, someone to find that. Maybe I can do it myself. Do not rickroll me. I will time you out. I will time you out. I will time you the fuck out if you rickroll me. Okay, I found it. No thanks to you, chat. No thanks to you. Okay. No thanks to you, chat. You failed. You have failed. It's okay. Okay, so once again, this is the TRRS beef update.
Or we'll suppose they can produce beef. Beef, 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 beef. The opportunity cost of beef, 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 beef. The value of beef, 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 beef. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beef, 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 beef. To get one more beef, 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 beef. And we're measuring the sacrifice of beef, 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 beef. Beef, 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 and therefore I get one beef. Beef, 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 nothing but beef. Beef, 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 beef. There's more beef in the world. Beef, 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 beef. The relative price of beef. Beef, 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 and put them into beef. Beef, beef. So they can produce pepper.
Okay. That was the intro. That was the intro.
Why?
What is this? For a second I thought that was a... I know Lodane wouldn't rickroll me, but now I'm paranoid. So for a second I thought that's what it was.
Why? 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 Why?
Okay. Okay. That was the intro. That was the intro for the beef update. Anyway, it's hard for me to look, because guess what? Guess what, Mr. Soy Boy... Guess what, Mr. Soy Boy, safe space, liberal, cat turd 2. Guess what? This guy loves freedom of speech so much. Well, guess what? Look at this. Look at this. First of all, cat turd 2 last night was doing, because when I was pointing out these tweets, he was doing yet another in his long-standing identical jokes about cow farts. This man is obsessed with overall farts in general, but specifically cow farts. He had dozens of tweets about this, and he was doing one yet again last night. And when I pointed this out, he did the whole like cry laughing, like, oh, you're so mad, you're so triggered. Well, guess what, cat turd 2? I think you're the one that is mad. What do you think about that, cat turd 2? I think you're the one that is triggered. You're the one that is soy. I'll probably have to look at it in a private window in order to get the context of this beef. But here, like, look at all these tweets, and they're all the same. He has this one, again, we talk about conservatives having one joke. Well, this person, Cat Turd 2, has tried desperately to incorporate a second joke in there, unsuccessfully. So he's combined the conservative one joke with this ongoing thing about cow farts destroying the planet. And this man just loves to talk about this every couple of weeks. Every couple of weeks. The people who believe men can get pregnant, there's 1,267 genders, and cow farts are going to destroy planet Earth, are having meltdowns because they're worried about misinformation on Twitter. Reminder, the first thing Joe Biden did in office was to destroy our energy independence, all to appease far-left loons who think cow farts are going to destroy our planet. The people who say cow farts are going to destroy planet Earth in 12 years are really worried about misinformation. Really the exact same tweet. December 2nd and January 29th. Exact same tweet. This guy's wondering why his engagement is going down. You know, maybe because maybe it's because he's always doing different versions of the exact same joke over and over every couple of weeks. Maybe that's why he's seeing a dip in the engagement numbers. This thing that he complains about apparently constantly. And why the world's richest man, for some fucked up reason, has decided to become this man's personal 24-hour shadow banning consultant. The world's richest man it's really important to him that Cat Turd 2 is having a good user experience on Twitter.com and feels seen and represented. Don't ask me to explain it. I don't know. Don't ask me to explain why. There's more though. I'll not be lectured about science from a party who says that cow farts will destroy planet Earth in 12 years. Democrats can literally tell their voters anything and they'll believe it. Imagine believing cow farts are going to destroy planet Earth. Why do Democrats never worry about the farts of the animals of the millions of herd animals in the Serengeti? Kind of taken into this woke direction here. Because you don't eat them. That's why it's always cow farts. It's all about replacing cows with bugs and nasty plant-based foods so they can control the food, thus controlling you. Something to think about. Democrat politicians can tell their dumb, low IQ zombie voters anything and they'll believe it. Men can have babies. There's 4,677 genders. Cow farts are going to destroy planet Earth, and so on. If you're wondering how Democrats can fool... That was October 17th, here's September 11th. This is what he was doing on September 11th. If you're wondering how Democrats can fool their voters over and over with ridiculously obvious lies, these voters are so dumb and gullible. They can be convinced that men can have babies. There's 8,543 genders. Cow farts are going to destroy the planet in 12 years. According to AOC, only 9 more years until cow farts turn planet Earth into an inhabitable barren wasteland of hellfire. There's more. The people that are telling you to stay masked forever are the exact same people telling you that cow farts are going to destroy planet Earth in 12 years. Reminder, only 10 years left according to AOC when cow farts destroy planet Earth. It makes sense that liberals are treating a virus with a 99.8 survival rate like it's the zombie apocalypse. It's the same people, folks, who believe cow farts are going to turn planet Earth into an inhabitable floating ball of black soot and hot lava in 12 years. And these were just the only ones I could capture in 4 screenshots, but there was just pages and pages of these. I can't believe I'm bothering to mention this, but cow farts are not the methane concern with cows. That's a common misconception. It's their burps due to the way they digest stuff. This guy just has to make it because Avi has some kind of weird, barely disguised fetish about this. I mean, that's what it is. Because remember, it's not just cow farts that this person is obsessed with. It's just like the idea of farting in general. There's something very exciting about it to this man, this individual. I don't want to kink shame anybody. Whatever anyone's into. Personally, that's not interesting or exciting to me in any way. Whatever Cat Turd's into, that's fine. Whatever Cat Turd 2 wants to do to get off, I mean, that's within the privacy of his own home with consenting adults. Totally okay with me, but I think it's a little to throw it at everyone's face, you know? It's a little much to throw it in everyone's face like this. I think you can have a little decency and not just throw this in everyone's face. There's kids that sometimes use this website, and then they have to be exposed to these kinds of like fetishes. Okay? So that's one thing that I think you should try and keep in mind. Let me open this in... Hold on. So I'm going to open this in a... I find it admirable how you could keep a straight face while saying cat turd 2 over and over again. Well, these are the people that this is the beef update, right? And I'm a respectful journalist. Respectable journalist. And when I have a beef with Twitter power user, and conservative influencer, cat turd 2, I'm going to take that as just about as seriously as I take anything else. Anyway. Well, I can't even see it in an incognito window because he blocked me. Maybe I can see this though. Open up another window. If you thought I was exaggerating, like, look, it's really ludicrous. This is a Twitter search about cat turd 2's many cow fart tweets. As you can see, it is. I was not cherry picking. This is not, it just goes on and on and on and on. It's going all the way back to when he was just a minor influencer, a minor TCOT influencer. Right? I don't know how many times he's tweeted, and he's complaining about the Fonz blocking him, but then he's blocking people because people who ideologically disagree with him because he needs a little safe space. Little hypocritical behavior from cat turd, if you ask me. Look, he's still at it. This guy, fucking cat turd 2, folks, has 1.3 million followers on Twitter. This guy just complains about this shit all day. Each and every day, Elon needs to clean house again. This suddenly started with all conservative accounts a month ago. It's getting worse by the day. Everyone's being hidden. Sounds like rogue employees. This guy complains about this every day. No wonder people are fucking not looking at your tweets, sir. Cat turd 2, what are you doing? This is just whiny bullshit. Why are you whining every single day about this? It's just sad. It's just sad. No wonder people don't want to look at this. And you're just telling the same joke over and over and over and over again. Of course. He blocked the Fonz of Twitch, Rob. Many people refer to me as that. I know. Every single day he's doing this. Let's see if I can find his quote tweet. This man uses Twitter a lot. This man really uses Twitter a whole lot. See, cat turd 2, sir. Sir. Cat turd 2. Don't do a tweet where you quote tweet me to your 1.3 million followers and say cry more and do the little laughing face emoji and then immediately block me afterwards, Cat Turd 2. Cat Turd 2. Come on. That's beta behavior. That's soy behavior. We're searching the databanks of the Cat Turd 2 media empire. That's right. Thank you, Sean. That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah, it can't be too hard to find the rogue employee. There's only 3 people left working there. Amazing. Breaking news, not enough people want to smell my turds. Starlight, don't sink to his level, okay? Don't sink to his level. And this is my response. This is my response in the beef. This is my official response. You know, maybe that's why the algorithm is suppressing you so much, because you're spending all your time tweeting about this shit. You know? Come on, Cat Turd 2. He joked that the TM after his name stands for Turd Master. Pretty funny guy. I mean, it's just really disturbing, I think, to go through all these tweets, you know, whether it's about the cow farts or what have you, because he had done another one last night. Look at every day. Take every damn. This is like literally just this is like a major conservative influencer. That the world's richest man spends every day and night trying to make sure that this guy thinks he's cool and make sure this guy's having a good user experience on twitter.com every single fucking day. This is just an old man just like screaming at a fucking, like, at a cloud, like that Simpsons newspaper headline. Take every damn shadow ban and algorithm off every damn person on Twitter every day in, day out. This is what he does. Cow farts in general, and complaining about the algorithms.
You can count on me.
Complaining about being censored by the algorithms.
To talk you through all this.
Resubbed for drama.
Thank you, Dapper Cat, for the 13 months of tier 1. And folks, you know that I'm against the beef lifestyle. You know that I'm not into the drama. I'm not into the call-outs. I'm not into the responses of the responses. But when a major A-list conservative influencer, and once again known associate of the world's richest man, one of the most powerful men in the world, Elon Musk, when one of these people tries to suggest, tries to impugn my reputation, that's not something that I can just let slide. Okay, I didn't choose the beef life. The beef life chose me, especially when it comes to this situation here, this ongoing situation with conservative influencer, hard-hitting A-lister in the conservative movement, Cat Turd 2. I couldn't just let this slide. So Musk supposedly gets all the bots off Twitter. Now these guys complain about not getting enough likes. That's right, Starlight. That's right. And he's literally got Elon looking every single day. Like, he's probably not, maybe he's actually getting tired. Maybe he's getting tired of responding to him like this when this is how it's getting, this is how his efforts are being rewarded. And this particular scenario could not be let to slide. This aggression will not stand, man. That's just amazing. Take off the damn shadow bans. Amazing. This $1.3 million account. Million follower account. Again, too. Like, it's day in, day out. I'm being silenced. I'm being censored every day. Every fucking day. While the president of the company, multi-billionaire, owner of the Tesla and corporation and Twitter and SpaceX, is fucking bending over backwards to make sure this guy's having the best user experience he can have, and he just complains day in, day out. This is the one though, again. Buy 100 cows, keep them all on the Cat Turd Ranch, feed them nothing but beans, so they'll fart so damn much they'll offset Al Gore's carbon credits. These are what the hard hitters, the hard hitter A-listers in the conservative movement. This is what they're spending their time doing. It's definitely good that Elon Musk spent $44 billion to improve these people's user experiences. You know, definitely a great decision on the part of Elon. Then there was that other pathetic situation that happened the other day when, like, he was talking shit about electric vehicles, and Elon was like, "Hey," it's like, "Yeah, Elon, these are your guys. These are your guys that you're trying to impress. You're bending over backwards to impress. Well done, sir. Well done, Mr. fucking business genius." But again, cat turd too. Come on. Don't accuse me of crying because I screenshotted all these dozens of variations on this exact same unfunny joke and scientifically inaccurate joke as well. Don't say that I'm crying, cat turd too, and then don't say that I'm crying only to do this. Only to do this. You know, cat turd too, I suggest that you're the one that is crying. You're the one who's mad and upset. Not me. What do you think of that, sir? So in closing, I think it's pretty clear that I did win the beef with a Twitter power user and an A-list conservative influencer. Cat turd too. Again, I don't like the beefing. I don't like the drama. I will admit openly that I do have a perfect record in terms of the various beefs that I have been involved with. But we don't need to get into that. I left that life behind me. I left the beef life behind me. We don't even need to recount all the other incidents. Okay? But that's just the truth. That's not an insult. That's a fact of life. Cry more, Rob. I say as Rob goes to see Avatar 2 again to tear up at those emotional scenes. And that's right. And I will cry more in those situations. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with responding emotionally to some of the scenes, the various scenes in Avatar 2 or any other film. You don't have to like something to be good at it. Example, me in watching this stream. Thank you, G Cluppy. Thank you. Sigma's cried during Avatar 2. That's right. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. So again, that has been the TRRS beef update.
Or we'll suppose they can produce beef. Beef, 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 beef. The opportunity cost of beef, 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 beef. The value of beef, 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 beef. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beef, 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 beef. To get one more beef, 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 beef. And we're measuring the sacrifice of beef, 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 beef. Beef, 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 and therefore I get one beef. Beef, 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 nothing but beef. Beef, 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 beef. There's more beef in the world. Beef, 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 beef. Beef, 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 beef. The relative price of beef. Beef, 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 and put them into beef, 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 so they can produce pepper.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Rob is undefeated when it comes to beef wars. However, he has lost once to a goose. It's never happened to me, Trina. It never will, sir. But thank you for the 100 friend coin. Thank you. Okay. That's the beef update. There is no goose update. Miragons, you've got to have some kind of like a alert that alerts you to whenever this comes up. I swear to God. First question Rob asked VJ tomorrow. So where's the beef? That's right. I would never beef with VJ. Okay. So what now? What now? I would like to, I guess, like there's probably more video stuff and different things we can look at about the whole Ukraine and Russia situation, World War III. We talked about it yesterday. We're going to get into it tomorrow as well. So I think probably should stay on that for the rest of the week. Let's talk geese. No, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm finished with that. That argument has been settled. There's no more debate to be had on it. Okay? It's settled. You'd lose. That's right. If I were to fight a goose, you're absolutely correct that I would lose on opposite day. Okay. Geese are tough. We're not getting into this, okay? We're not getting into this. We're not doing this. The day of opposites fast approaches in these end times. True. What time is VJ tomorrow? VJ will be here at 3 p.m. (3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time). VJ Prashad will be joining the program. So I'm just wondering, everyone remember to embarrass Rob on Twitter with photoshops on him and VJ. That was very enjoyable. He got kind of freaked out before coming on the show. He saw the memes being posted, and he was a little freaked out. We don't need to do any cat turd photoshops. No, I don't agree with that. Let me just find a good video to watch to get us like on this subject here. And then we can I have more stuff that we can look at after. There's that Brian Berlatic video. Ben Norton has something on this. Yeah, I want to get back to talking about Ukraine and this new weapons deal going to Ukraine. These people are just genuinely fucking deranged. These like pro-Ukraine journalists, Western journalists, just obsessed. They're just all celebrating this, right? Of course. What a cursed flag combination. The American flag and Ukraine flag in the bio. Just going crazy complaining about these tanks going to Ukraine. It's fucking bizarre. There's this as well. You got the German foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock. Saying explicitly, we're fighting a war against Russia. Like this is the alarming thing that people have been warning about, right? And this is what Germany has been getting pulled into this against their will at the behest of the United States. And people are trying to suggest that there's still some separation, that there's not. This has not always been about the West confronting Russia or pretending that's about some like situation of Ukrainian sovereignty. This is about the West confronting Russia, and it always has been. Now Germany's getting pulled in with this even more. They're openly admitting it. And like I pointed out, what is the difference between NATO engaging Russia when they're so obviously pumping these weapons into the country? Like, what is this? It would be for people that live in Germany, like they should be working with Russia. They should be working with Russia to have reduced energy prices, more peace, more security, and they're fucking now sending German tanks to attack Russia through Ukrainian proxies. How is that going to be good for Germany? How is it going to be good for Europe? Well, no one can explain this. But it's great for the United States. It's great for the weapons manufacturers. It's great for the fracking companies that want to sell fracked gas at an increased rate to Germany. It's great for all of them. It is not going to be great for actually the European countries that are affected by this. And like we pointed out yesterday in that quote, like Germany is occupied militarily by the United States. This has always been the danger to Europe and the danger to Germany. Not that they would get into conflict with Russia themselves, but that the U.S. would provoke or start a war or conflict with Russia or with China and draw them into it, which is exactly what is happening now.
And therefore, I've said already in the last days, yes, we have to do more to defend Ukraine. Yes, we have to do more also on tanks. But the most important and the crucial part is that we do it together and that we do not do the blame game in Europe, because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you.
We're fighting a war against Russia. You know, that's the foreign minister. That's the foreign minister that's in Germany. That's not like some random bureaucrat. You know? And when Russia has been framing this as this ultimate show, not this war of aggression against Ukraine, but this ultimate showdown versus the West, who's been antagonizing them for a long time, it's like, what doesn't this just prove everything that they've been saying? You don't have to believe it or think that they're saying these things, or completely truthfully, or they're not using their own kind of form of propaganda. But like, doesn't this completely justify all these kind of excuses? All these kinds of like all the rhetoric they've used about this. And when they say, like we looked at that Lavrov quote yesterday, when they say we're getting like this is becoming a open conflict with the West, like the difference between a conflict between Russia and Ukraine and an open conflict with the West is like paper thin at this point. The actual difference between these two things, it's so fucking obvious for everyone that's been looking at this. I'll put on let me just check one thing. I'm just trying to put on a video so I can have like a sandwich or something, have something to eat. You got Aaron Monte Substack, Peace. I wonder if he has a video. What's this?
Let's go first to
This is a British Colonel Richard Kemp. Yesterday.
Richard. Let's go first to Ukraine, because that's all that's happening in the news. Give us your take on the Ukraine and the various relationships.
I think the first thing I'd say is not to take too much notice of what most of the mainstream media has got to say about Ukraine, because most of them, and I'm thinking really more here about what I used to watch in the UK, particularly the BBC. Most of them are really just regurgitating the Ukrainian general staff's perspective on what's happening. They're not taking account of other perspectives, such as what the Russians are saying they're doing, and very often that does lead to a distorted picture. But I think in reality, the Russians are doing their best now, as we speak, to take the whole of the Donbass region in eastern Crimea, eastern Ukraine. And they're being quite successful at that. I think they're hammering the hell, unfortunately, out of the Ukrainians with artillery and then going in to mop them up. It's a slow, long process. But I think eventually, unfortunately, they will probably prevail in eastern Ukraine.
Not supposed to say that. Yeah, notice the damage limitation banners that appear while he's talking. Let's check out this Brian Berlichuk video.
25th, 2023. Okay. I want to talk about
I'm going to make a sandwich while this is
conflict in Ukraine.
We'll watch this video and continue talking about this.
About another
I'll be right
instance of U.S. interference, this time in Myanmar. I'm going to start with Russian military operations in Ukraine and the West's desire to escalate this. Now, with all of this fighting taking place, Ukraine's offensives clearly long ago having ground to a halt. Russia now on the offensive, Ukraine losing ground. And remember, at the same time, every single month, Russia carries out several missile and drone strikes targeting the infrastructure of Ukraine, degrading the power grid. While all of this is taking place, you have articles like this from the BBC. Top Ukrainian officials quit in anti-corruption drive. It says a top advisor, 4 deputy ministers, and 5 regional governors left their posts. And then the article lists the president's deputy head of office, the deputy defense minister, the deputy prosecutor general, the deputy minister of development of communities and territories, the deputy minister for social policy, and the regional governors of Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye, Kiev, Sumy, and Kherson. They're all gone. And this follows Alexei Arestovich, an advisor to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, and dubbed the chief spin doctor of the Ukrainian government. He's gone. And then you had the interior minister and his whole team on a helicopter that crashed, and they all died. So all of that has happened recently. There is a video by the Duran, Alex Christoforou, and Alexander Mikuris. They go into detail on that. I'm not going to go over that again. They did an excellent job. The link to that video will be in the video description below. But essentially, they're talking about the possibility that this is more of a purge. They're calling this an anti-corruption drive in the BBC. Highly unlikely that you're going to do something like that in the middle of a war. Much more likely that this is a purge. A purge by whom and for what reason? The Duran goes over all of the possibilities. No one knows for sure, not yet. In that same video by the Duran, Alex and Alexander go into speculation as to why the US and its allies are talking about sending main battle tanks, where those main battle tanks may actually go rather than to the Ukrainians, who most certainly are not going to be able to make effective use out of them. And the idea is that they're actually they have to stage all of this equipment in Poland anyway. Perhaps it's going to be used by Polish troops, Baltic state troops, an incursion originating in Poland going into Western Ukraine. And I have talked about the prospect of the US, NATO, going into Western Ukraine and creating a buffer zone. I've talked about this since the special military operation began in February last year. This is a possibility that I think we should keep a very close eye on. Again, watch the video and listen to Alex and Alexander go through the reasoning and all of the factors that are leading them to consider this possibility. On the other hand, we have to remember that all of the same problems that face the idea of sending main battle tanks and all of this other NATO armor to Ukraine, all of these same problems existed when the US and their allies sent things like the HIMARS, M270s, and M777 towed howitzers. They had all of the same problems. They would never be able to get the number of artillery pieces necessary to match Russia, and they would never be able to use them effectively on the battlefield because of constraints in training, and also because none of these weapon systems are meant to go on the battlefield and fight in a conflict on their own. They are supposed to be part of a combined arms force, and you're supposed to include sufficient amounts of artillery, armor, infantry, and air power, and Ukraine doesn't have any of these things, not nearly in the numbers that they need to fight effective modern combined arms warfare. But let's get into the topic of main battle tanks. I had said previously that all of this back and forth over Leopards and Abrams, this was all theater, and that eventually Germany would definitely be sending Leopards and the US would most likely send Abrams. Now we have this from the BBC. US and Germany ready to send tanks to Ukraine, reports. And the article says, U.S. President Joe Biden's administration is expected to announce plans to send at least 30 M1 Abrams tanks. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has also reportedly decided to send at least 14 Leopard 2 tanks. He is set to speak in Parliament on Wednesday morning. The article admits that it could take months to send these tanks. Yes, at a minimum, it will take months to train Ukrainians on the rudimentary operation of these vehicles, create the supply chains necessary to sustain them on the battlefield, at least. And that's just to get them rolling on the battlefield and possibly firing their gun in the right direction. This is all analysis by Jonathan Beale, a BBC defense correspondent. It says Ukraine is still unlikely to get the 300 modern main battle tanks. It says it needs to win the war. I wouldn't bet on that. I think they're going to continuously increase this number. But if half a dozen Western nations can provide 14 tanks, then that would bring the total to nearly 100, which could make a difference. No, it cannot, and I'll explain why. Western tanks, including the UK's Challenger 2, Germany's Leopard 2, and the US-made Abrams, are all seen as superior to their Soviet-era counterparts, like the ubiquitous T-72. And that is not true, and this is all based on the performance of the US M1 Abrams in Iraq. And the situation in Iraq is entirely different than the situation in Ukraine right now. And the T-72s that the US fought and destroyed in Iraq are completely different than the T-72s and also T-90s and T-80s that Russia is using in Ukraine.
I'm back.
Right
Hello.
Now, in my last update, I talked about this Twitter thread by Lieutenant General Mark Hertling of the U.S. Army, retired, and he is talking about all of the actual problems of sending M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine. And I'm not going to read through this again, but I will go over the points briefly. He says the M1 Abrams requires long periods of training, and it's not just to teach the crew to operate the tank itself, it's also to teach the tanks how to fight together as a unit. He says the M1 Abrams requires the most training among both NATO and Soviet-era tanks in terms of firing the main gun. And the M1 Abrams' driver needs a lot of training because a poorly trained driver is going to destroy the engine. It is a multi-fuel turbine engine, and once you break it, you have to replace it, which is not a trivial task on a battlefield in eastern Ukraine or western Russia, depending on your point of view. Now, regarding maintenance, he points out that you cannot just have...
I think like... Yeah, Emily's way of saying, as someone who would consume pro-Russian media during the war, the Ukrainian counteroffensive last autumn was really sobering. None of the military experts praising Russian capabilities predicted the losses of Kharkiv and Kherson. I think that's true as well. I mean, I've been trying to avoid getting out of for the last year, as much as we've talked about the like broader strokes of this conflict. I've always avoided getting in, like becoming invested in any like specific battles or like, oh, they've taken this territory, because of this whole like fog of war situation where you never really know like what is going on, and you're always getting kind of a one side's version of it versus the others. Of course, the losses in Kharkiv and Kherson were used by the Ukrainian propagandists to like just reinforce this idea that victory was imminent and that they were like, you know, they were just about ready to push on into fucking Moscow. Obviously, that has not been true. Definitely on the Russian side, it was a big setback for them. I guess the thing that I said at the time when that was going on, that's just like, without getting into the broad or the minute details of like each individual battle or who has what, how many tanks or who can do what, it's not really surprising that the Ukrainian military is able to like make these kinds of gains or to push back against this offensive when they push back against this offensive when they have access to this never-ending supply of arms and training and weapons. I mean, that seems to be kind of a no-brainer. Like when NATO and these Western countries are just pumping billions of dollars worth of arms into the country, that is the shit that happens. They go and they win battles, I guess. I mean, that's what all the training is for and what all the arms are for. So it's not really surprising that they do win victories in this process. But overall, I don't know that any of that has changed the whole broader view of this conflict, which is that winning or just like completely pushing the Russians back out of all the territory that they've taken, or as what some of the incredibly delusional people say, that they're going to push them out of Crimea as well. I still don't believe, regardless of whatever setbacks that have happened, that any of that is actually possible. All the victories in Kherson, etc., seem to have done is just prolonged the conflict into this endless quagmire, which is what these NATO backers and the imperialists that have provoked the conflict wanted in the first place. So it's not really surprising that that's the result that's ensuing from it, right? I don't think so. Yeah, fighting to the last Ukrainian is their literal strategy. As we pointed out yesterday, that's just not like a meme. That's not a meme among the anti-war left or anti-imperialists. They're literally they're saying that, right? Lindsey Graham is out there saying that, like in public. So it's not really surprising, I don't think, that they're winning victories sometimes. Overall, though, are they, regardless of whatever setbacks that Russia's undergone since this conflict started, is Ukraine going to just completely push them back out of the territory? Are they going to take back Crimea? I don't think that's a possibility. That was never a possibility. This victory is imminent narrative. They've been pushing that since like day one, and it's just, I don't think there's never been any truth to it, regardless of whatever successes they've been able to have.
Ukrainian jet engine technician work on an Abrams engine just because it's a turbine engine.
I haven't seen
you
the
have to have an experienced
conscription videos, Poison.
Technician.
That sounds fucking terrifying.
That has
definitely
knowledge
something that
and is certified specifically
indicates
on the
that things are going
Abrams
really great.
Engine. And he points out that it's true that Iraq and Saudi Arabia
and I feel really horrible for the people that are getting conscripted on both sides. You know, that's such a fucking tragedy. An entire generation of young, mostly men in Ukraine and Russia getting conscripted into this for what? You know, it's ongoing, and this endless war cheerleading, and all the people that say like any ceasefire, any negotiation is like Russian victory, and you know, is a fight to the last Ukrainian, and that want to turn it into this multi-year long quagmire. I mean, it's just killing an entire generation of people on both sides. It's a fucking tragedy. You know? On the flip side, the Russians who insist they'll annex Odessa at the end of the war are crazy too. Well, and seriously, Poison, and that's another something else we should put out as well, which is that the people that are like in the West that are promoting expanding this conflict and perpetuating it indefinitely, they're empowering the reactionaries in Russian society as well, who think Putin is going too soft on Ukraine. Right? There's this whole element of Russian society that's like, no, we should actually continue pushing, and we should really go even way harder on them than what we have been doing. And this refusal to negotiate, this refusal to accept any other outcome other than total victory or total Russian surrender is just empowering those Russian reactionaries, and just ensuring that it's going to escalate even more into an even greater and more bloody and violent and brutal conflict. And once again, it's the liberals in our society that are just cheerleading this. You know, they're just absolutely cheerleading this. Their bloodlust is up higher than ever. And they're cheerleading this, and the folks like us, as I've been saying, who've been talking for one entire year about peace and dialogue and diplomacy and ending the conflict, we're the ones who get framed as being, tankies.
Iraq had a 5-year training program before they began using them. And so...
Oh, and sorry, and another thing as well, it's just in this common misconception when we talk about this, that this is somehow against, Russia taking any of this territory is a victory for Russia, and it makes Ukraine some like Russian satellite, versus this idea that if this total victory is achieved, if we pump enough arms into Ukraine that they defeat the Russians, and the Russians leave with the tail between their legs, and they go back to Moscow, and they leave Crimea. The idea that in that situation, that Ukraine is going to be some free society or democracy, like people are saying this has anything to do with autonomy. That's the most laughable thing. We saw that video yesterday of Zelensky making the appeal to BlackRock and all these, and Goldman Sachs and all these brutal American capitalist and imperialist institutions, begging them to come in and rebuild the country. We all know what's going to happen in that situation. It's going to be turned into a Western satellite state, tax haven, where all labor protections is fucking removed. All social programs are removed. Austerity. It's going to be this neoliberal fucking hellhole. With American multinationals coming in there to pick up the pieces and rebuild the country for their own benefit and their own profit. And people are suggesting that this is going to be like beneficial to people in Ukraine, right? Oh, they're going to be free. They're going to be autonomous now. They're just going to be an autonomous democracy. And the people are going to, that is absolute horseshit. They're going to be a NATO satellite state. They'll be a Western satellite state. That's why the whole thing about Minsk and the whole argument over the last 10 years has been about neutrality. They wanted them to be neutral. That was the whole key to the Minsk agreement and the ceasefire in the first place. Ukrainian neutrality, right? They're not going to be neutral in this situation. They're going to be a Western satellite state, and they're going to be getting completely exploited at every level by these imperialist institutions. The banks and the arms manufacturers and the contractors are going to be in there robbing the country blind. It is not going to be this wonderful, beautiful, free democracy where the Ukrainian people are going to prosper. Again, the Ukrainian people are the ones being thrown into the fucking wood chipper to promote this conflict with Russia. It's never been about their sovereignty or their democracy or their human rights or freedom. And it's childish to believe that it has been.
Saudi Arabia had a 7-year training program. As I've pointed out many times
maybe
before,
they can make it the first BlackRock government.
To
you might as well
integrate a heavy weapon system like this into your military. It took Ukraine years to integrate the Bayraktar.
We all know that the one guarantee USA wants to secure is that any peace or diplomatic solution will allow them to have nukes in Ukraine. Yeah, and like that's, as we've been pointing out since before this kicked off, red wine terrorist, that's always been a red line for Russia. That's always been a red, like, you don't cross this line. If you do, there's going to be consequences. That's why you had people like Mearsheimer in 2015 saying, like, if we continue doing what we're doing, they're going to respond. They're going to react. And lo and behold, that's exactly what fucking happened. Shell and Chevron want to tap those fossil reserves that were kicked off 8 years ago. Yeah, I mean, just this idea that this is they want to defeat Russia and provoke this conflict with Russia and Ukraine to help Ukrainian people is just the absolute most childish fairy tale fantasy nonsense. Yeah, Ukraine's going to get wrecked. I mean, it's not... This has been the most frustrating thing about this. It's not been like a mystery about what is going on. And the idea that people haven't been able to acknowledge this, or to say that the things Mearsheimer was saying was like Russian propaganda. Literally just pointing out to everyone, here is what we're doing. Here is going to be the inevitable consequence of what we're currently doing. And lo and behold, the inevitable consequence that he said was going to happen did happen. You know, and people criticize him for just having the temerity to point this shit out.
Into their military, and it still made no difference. We don't hear about TB2 drones anymore. Now, in another video by Alexander Mercouris of the Duran, and again, it will be linked to in the video description below, he talks about this article from 1945, Ukraine won't get Leopard 2 or M1 Abrams tanks, does it matter? This is by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, so another U.S. military officer with experience specifically in armor. And, well, now we learn that Ukraine is going to get Leopards and Abrams, but he describes all of the problems that Ukraine is going to face trying to use these, and why they're not going to be as effective as people seem to think. He says, will these high-tech tanks, if Ukraine eventually gets them, transform the Ukrainian armed forces into a modern force that can drive Russia out later this spring? The chances aren't as great as many believe. And then he says, in Desert Storm, US M1A1 Abrams tanks wiped out Saddam Hussein's fleets of Soviet-made T-72s, and again, the American Abrams-led invasion in 2003 revealed the T-72 was no match for US tanks, and truly the American tanks were witheringly successful. During Desert Storm, for example, the US and its coalition partners destroyed more than 3,000 Iraqi tanks. Saddam's armored forces, however, did not destroy even a single Abrams tank. It is understandable then why anyone would want to have an Abrams or equivalent tank, especially when it has proven so effective against exactly the type of tanks Russia has. And Alexander in his video points out that the T-72 tanks in Iraq during these two conflicts he mentions are completely different than the T-72s that are being used in Ukraine right now by Russia. These T-72s have been heavily modernized. They have modern computerized fire control systems, they have night and thermal imaging optics, and they have explosive reactive armor, which is a huge upgrade, a step up from the steel armor that the T-72 was originally designed with, and which was what...
Yeah, Mike, this is true. Like flipping a game board when it's not going your way. If Ukraine can't be in the Western camp, then they'd rather leave Ukraine as a hole in the ground than let Russia gain anything. That seems to be what it is, yeah. Yeah, but this is this kind of scary moment that we're in right now. It's like they just seem determined to escalate it. And as I was saying before, like the sending German tanks into Ukraine is just reinforcing the narrative that Russia has had about this all along, that this is a war for their survival, not a war against Ukraine. But they're basically giving the West the fight that they've been hoping for years now. Right? And it's just still, after one entire year, the only option that's on the table is more escalation. You know? Even that pathetic letter the Progressive Caucus sent a few months ago, that was like literally agreeing with continuing the weapons transfers, but like maybe suggesting that some kind of diplomacy might be an option, was met with such like hysterical anger. And the next day they said, "Whoa, we're sorry, we didn't mean it." That's the fucking state of the discourse around this. And the fact is, the very unfortunate thing is, now you have absolute fucking assholes are the ones making this argument. You know, because there's no one in the progressive camp that's able to say a word about it. And the only thing they're allowed to do is contribute to it, continue it, escalate it. And the ones criticizing this are like the conservative movement and random correct people like me. It's been an absolute gift to these like reactionary grifters to give them the entirety of that argument, just to concede the entire anti-war, no, we should not be arming Ukraine, to the absolute most vile reactionary people. Conservatives just want to be in charge of it. I think my understanding, Dose Streams, is that what conservatives want in terms of these like geopolitical trends is they don't want to fight Russia. They want to fight China. And I think they see, probably correctly, that the biggest threat to American hegemony is the alliance between Russia and China. And I guess the conservative position is we need to break that alliance and confront China, whereas liberals are like, no, we should confront Russia and China at the same time. So these are the two ideological camps in like the establishment. In the imperialist establishment, you have two viewpoints about how America should be wielding power on a global level. The liberals who say, yeah, let's go after Russia and China simultaneously, and the conservatives who are just like, we need to break Russia and China apart and then everyone go after China. That's the two options. Those are the two sides to the coin. And all these like based conservatives that are getting credit from like people on this like weird post-left media sphere, they're all in lockstep agreement on that. All the Tucker Carlson and neocons, whether it's Iran or Afghanistan, Ukraine or Russia, it's to prevent any westward expansion of the BRI. That's what I've been saying, Johnny. Right? It's like that global shift. The BRI is the like indication of that global shift in power that's happening right now. And like I was pointing out yesterday, that power shift is just like as inevitable as like the sun rising. It's just like it's not something that can be stopped at this point. Just these forces are in place, and like that global power shift from unipolarity to multipolarity is just happening. But they have this like completely we must prevent this at all costs mentality, which is going to lead to World War III before it leads to like peace and understanding. I think the imperialists, it's the only thing that they understand. The only thing they understand is more war, more conflict. Right? As Mao said as well. And I always zoom in and I lose the quote. Our country and all other socialist countries want peace. So do the peoples of all the countries of the world. The only ones who crave war and do not want peace are certain monopoly capitalist groups in a handful of imperialist countries that depend on aggression for their profits. You know? It's not that complicated to make sense of.
Iraq had on the battlefield. So all three of these factors make a huge difference. And you will see why in just a moment, because Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis is going to explain what is most important in a tank battle. He says, in tank fights, the side that accurately fires first almost always wins. In Desert Storm, we almost always fired first, and because of our training, almost never missed. But when the Iraqi gunners got off a shot, it was rarely on target. The results were fatal for them. Now, the T-72 tanks that Russia has in
This is some guy,
Ukraine,
Rob
they're
Russo,
going to
some
be able
leftist
to
based
see.
in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Hello, Soy Atoll. Soy Atoll, hello, welcome. What is up? How's it going? Thank you for the raid. Get in here, raiders. Bring it on in here. Hello. I'm Rob. You're watching TRRS. Twitch is only two-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. Talking a little bit about this uplifting subject that's animating all kinds of discourse right now, making everyone feel good and positive about the future. The road to World War III. So thank you for joining us. Smash the follow button if you want to contribute to the chat or you want to be part of the community. Thank you again for the raid. Soy Atoll. Good to have you. We're just watching this. We're talking about the tank sale, the German tanks now going to Ukraine to fight Russians, and the historical implications about that, and the implications about this road to World War III, which I've kind of started to believe that we are on right now, this path. And just breaking down this tank sale
count
with
on
this.
Me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Brian Berlatek video. Hey, thank you, Church Fella, for the gifted sub. Thank you, Church Fella. Very first gifted sub in the community. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. I want to get off this road. Well, I do too, Dose Streams. I absolutely do too. But like I was saying yesterday, it does kind of seem like there's not really that much we can do as individuals to prevent this situation, which does seem like it's just been kind of become an inevitability. And there's been just a number of incidents over the last couple of decades that have just been dominoes to fall, leading us down this path. And I don't know if there's much of a way to stop these very powerful forces from confronting one another. I'm more concerned about the far-right cults here in the U.S. than a World War III. Well, I guess part of the offshoot is that this kind of thing is empowering the way that the establishment on both sides are kind of in agreement to provoke these kinds of imperialist conflicts. I think it empowers far-right elements in our societies as well. The far-right is empowering, and the war in Russia and Ukraine right now is a big part of that, you know? Becoming more normalized. We're normalizing fascism. We're sending billions of dollars worth of arms to fascist militias in Ukraine right now. And that affects that it helps the far right grow around the whole world. The far right is making these arguments about the war, talking about their energy prices, talking about the material impact that it's having on people's lives, and the way that their establishments in each country have gone along with it. And it's empowering the far right all over the world. So these things are linked together, I think. Anyway, let's continue this Brian Berlatek video, and we'll have more discussion.
Ukrainian tanks. As soon...
What's your view of what we should do diplomatically? We should promote, as I've been saying repeatedly since I've been covering this story, we should be promoting dialogue and diplomacy and a ceasefire to try and end the conflict. I'm pro-peace. I support peace. I don't think we ever should have provoked the conflict in the first place, which we did, which Canada and the United States and the Western countries definitely did do. So since I wish we had not done that in the first place, and we did, the only option really that we've been talking about is having diplomacy and dialogue and ending the conflict, which has become, unfortunately, extreme minority opinion in our media and in our society and our culture. Or gets framed as being like pro-Russian propaganda or what have you, to suggest that, yes, we should stop sacrificing Ukraine to antagonize our geopolitical rival, Russia, which is exactly what has been going on. Or that it's going to be helpful for Ukraine to become a Western satellite state tax haven being rebuilt by these ghoulish multinational corporations and imperialist institutions. I don't think it's going to be helpful for Ukraine either, even if they do get this victory scenario, which is never going to happen. Anyway, let's continue this video with Brian Berlatek.
Or sooner than Ukrainian tanks will see them. They have computerized fire control systems. When they aim a shot, they're almost certainly going to hit on the first try. If people remember the video I did about Wally, the super sniper from Canada, his last mission in Ukraine was trying to hunt a Russian modern main battle tank. He had a team of 4. 2 of the 4 teammates were killed instantly when a Russian tank saw them and killed them both on the first shot. He never managed to hit that Russian tank with his javelin because these are modernized T-72s. They have modern optics. They can see you shortly before you see them, day or night, in any weather condition. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis points out another extremely important factor, perhaps the most important factor. The U.S. crewmen were highly trained as individuals. In my unit, tank drivers, loaders, gunners, and vehicle commanders had all mastered their...
And NATO is basically the U.S. foreign policy. Like, we're seeing this with Germany and France, especially, being like forced reluctantly into this conflict that they both tried desperately to avoid. You know, it's not going to be it's not beneficial to Germany or France to back the U.S. against Russia like right now, but they're doing it anyways because once they're part of NATO, they take orders from the United States State Department, and that is what they're doing, especially Germany, which is a militarily occupied country still. So just let Russia have it all, because Russia had no attention on negotiations. Blame who you like for Russia's actions. They intended to do this regardless of provocation from other nations. I would need to see a source for that claim. I mean, Russia has been it's been 10 years of the conflict happening in Ukraine. If that was always their intention, why didn't they just go in 5 fucking years ago? Merkel herself has stated that, like, the whole negotiation process, the Minsk agreements, was just a way to buy time for the Ukrainian military to get up to standards so they could wage this conflict. So if this was always Russia's plan to just take the fucking country over, why didn't they just do that years ago when they were militarily and diplomatically and politically not anywhere near equipped to fucking respond to it? Why did they wait 10 years and try and engage in this whole process of negotiation and ceasefires if they intended to do this all along? I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Why did NATO march west of Germany since the fall of the USSR? As I've said repeatedly, Russia, we're talking about our special little club, right? The rules-based international order. Russia's been trying to be part of this club. Russia wanted to be part of our special little club. They gave up socialism so they could be part of our special little club, which just should be a signal, by the way, to countries around the world that you never, ever give up on pursuing socialism and that you will never be rewarded from it for the West. You'll always be punished, which is exactly what happened to Russia. Russia gave up socialism to appease the West, to be part of their special little club, to allow them to become a fucking, just to turn the whole country into a bonanza for American corporations in profiting from this like privatization process, from the austerity, from cutting off social services. It just became a fucking bonanza for these massive corporations. Russia gave up socialism. They allowed that to happen. It destroyed tens of millions of people's lives, and they didn't even benefit from it. They got continually punished. They just got antagonized even more. They got intentionally humiliated, which led directly to Putin becoming popular in the first place, because he promised to Russians to restore their like national dignity that had been completely trampled on by the West. So Russia gave up socialism to appease the US, to become part of their special little club. They wanted to be part of NATO. They wanted to help us in our imperialist conquest, and we said no, we didn't. We just had more antagonizing for them, more continued expanding NATO right up to their borders, continued interfering politically in Ukraine, pumped arms and weapons and CIA training into Ukraine for these fascist militias over the last 10 years. We just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And what the Ukraine-Russia war is Russia finally responding to the endless provocations that have been coming from our side now for years and years and years and years.
Their individual jobs, then for more than a year before battle had conducted considerable time training as platoons, then company level, and later we trained in squadron and eventually regimental levels. No one could have been more ready to fight than we were. Think about what he's saying. He's not saying that all of these people only trained for a year and then they were capable.
I keep doing funny pause faces on Brian here. That's better. Emily's hot take: if a Khrushchev speech about Mao had happened in China, the country wouldn't be nearly as successful as today. That's I think that's one cool thing about China that we were talking about yesterday. We were looking at the 1980 interview in the Washington Post with Deng Xiaoping yesterday. And that's one thing that I respect about how they handled that, you know? When Mao died and when Deng Xiaoping eventually took over, he said specifically, we're not going to do to Mao what the Russians did to Stalin. And in fact, what the Russians did do to Stalin with that Khrushchev speech was a big part of the Sino-Soviet split in the first place. They said, we're not going to do to Mao what the Russians did to Stalin. And he talked about Stalin himself and said, we're not going to reject Stalin either. Like, we support and we uphold all the big successes. We can talk about the mistakes that happened. It wasn't perfect, obviously, but we still uphold him. And they said the same thing about Mao. He did a lot of great things. I think they said 70% good, 30% bad. He made some mistakes. Some bad stuff happened. Overall, we're still going to uphold and we're going to uphold this man. And we're going to continue to make him a major part of our movement, a major figurehead of our movement.
Based in Canada, I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
I also feel like the speech was a death knell to the CPUSA and other Western communist parties. For sure, Baldwin. For sure. Like I was saying yesterday, that's how that Stalinism wedge issue has just completely destroyed the left in the West, such as it ever was. Dan, thank you for the raid, Dan. Dan Simpson, once again, Dan raid. Hello, Dan. Just talking about Russia and Ukraine, and once again, defending Stalin as well. Which I guess I'm doing just more and more frequently lately. Like I was saying yesterday, I think it's important to point that out, you know? This whole idea of like how you're a Western leftist, you're a socialist, you're a communist, but like you can't ever say one good thing about Stalin, and if you do, you say, but no, I don't support the most successful socialist leader in modern history who helped win World War II. No, that's ridiculous. And you just sound like an asshole. You know, you sound like you have incoherent politics when you start doing this. That's exactly why that Khrushchev speech happened, and exactly why that's been used as a wedge issue to wreck the left now for generations. And let's get more of this. We can look at more of this Brian Berlitic video. I don't know if I can. We're only 15 minutes into this. I don't think I can do the whole video. But it's been a good jumping off point for a bunch of discussion. So
he's not saying that all of these people only trained for a year and then they were capable of what they achieved. They had already mastered the skills of operating a tank and operating a tank individually along with other tanks as part of a unit. They had already mastered these skills, and then they specifically trained for a whole year for this operation. If you remember the build-ups to Desert Storm and also the invasion in 2003, these were extended periods of time, and the US military used this time to train their forces specifically for the invasion. And then he continues about the Iraqis. This is what he says. Iraq had done virtually none of these things. We later discovered their crew members had minimum training, had rarely, if ever, fired their main guns in training, did very little unit level training, and their maintenance programs, far more important in tank operations than commonly understood, was virtually non-existent. In short, the T-72 operators were poorly trained, while our side was highly trained. And that made a huge difference. Now, this is what he says.
I mean, Matt, like even, it's funny watching this video and talking about Stalin. I guess Stalin's a central figure in World War II, so if we're talking about World War III, it's going to inevitably come up. I guess it's unavoidable. If the deep state wasn't doing their best to convince everyone to disavow Stalin, then they're not doing their job properly. There's that old CIA memo as well, right, Matt? That's just like even the CIA acknowledging, we know that Stalin's not just some like authoritarian big boss who makes all the decisions, and that really he's just the head of the team. Like they openly acknowledge this. They knew this. He's the leader of a club. Yeah, it's like they openly acknowledge this. They knew this, but there's been a decades-long multi-generational propaganda campaign to rewrite the history about this, or to create or to present a revisionist version of history. Right? It's been a revisionist version of history, and that's why there's left-wing people in academia, right? Academia is just infested though with these kinds of, and what I was saying the other day, it's Trotskyists, right? All our left-wing media establishments, people that become like left-wing authors and journalists, they all take this stance like about Stalin and Stalinism and the Soviet Union, and it's this very they believe in and uphold this revisionist version of history about this. All our institutions, like that's, if you're on the left and you're in the union movement or you're in academia or the media, this is what you believe, And if you believe differently, if you're like a Marxist-Leninist sympathizer or, a communist, you don't get these positions. You don't get these positions in academia or the media or, of course, not in politics. Speaking of trots, throwback to the one time Alex Jones. I've seen it many times before, but worth looking at again. It's very true. He's not always right.
He says very careful.
You don't have to hand it to him. But sometimes.
Back over to take over.
Sometimes this guy knew what he was talking about.
They come over here, and now they are the Republican Party. Hardcore Trotskyites.
And listen, this this Russia-Ukraine conflict, I think, is the ultimate example of we're seeing the Trotskyist to neocon pipeline in real life. You see exactly how someone can be like, oh, I'm a leftist, I'm a socialist, I'm a progressive, and to get sucked into that camp. The Russia and Ukraine conflict has been a textbook example of how you see this process happen, right? That's how you end up becoming a pro-war neocon from that starting point.
Hardcore. They give you the Patriot Act, everything else. I mean, we're in deep trouble. We are in deep, 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 deep trouble. And I only wish Stalin would have got all of them. I got to be quite honest. Trotsky, these people, that's some bold statement there.
I got to make that an alert. That has to be an alert. That has to be an alert. He was absolutely correct. He was not wrong to say that.
Here is a little known truth. If the Iraqis had the same M1A1s that we had, or if we had been outfitted with the same T-72s Iraq had, we still would have won, because ultimately it is the man operating the tools of war that wins, not the tools themselves. Without question, the Abrams is superior in every way to any Soviet-era tank, but without proper training and maintenance, even an M1 can be defeated.
Yes, folks, another reminder, Vijay Prashad tomorrow. Vijay Prashad will be joining the program tomorrow in just about 24 hours' time. Almost 1 year to the day since his last appearance on this program. Vijay Prashad of the Tricontinental Institute, author of the book Washington Bullets, among others. Vijay Prashad will be joining this very program tomorrow. My best friend, that's right. My best friend. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to catching up with him. Signed a 10-year deal. And if you want to hear the exclusive and see the exclusive, highly elite VJ-themed alert for those ultra-generous gifters, if you gift 10 subs and above, you do see the very rare and highly engaging and wonderful Vijay Prashad alert featuring Shades Rob, TRRS side character Shades Rob that everyone loves.
And even with all of those things, an M1 can still be defeated. As I pointed out, in Yemen, Saudi Arabia has lost M1 Abrams tanks
A lot of people are saying
to
this.
irregular Yemeni forces using Russian-made anti-tank weapons. I pointed out how Israel, highly trained crews, well supported logistically on the battlefield and supported in terms of combined arms warfare. They lost their vaunted Merkava tanks to Hezbollah forces, again, using Russian-made anti-tank weapons. The same goes for Leopard 2 tanks used by Turkey in northern Syria. These were all well-trained tank crews, supported logistically in ways that Ukraine could only dream of, and benefiting from combined arms warfare, air power, infantry fighting vehicles, artillery of all kinds. They benefited from all of these advantages, and their tanks were still being destroyed on the modern battlefield by Russian-made anti-tank weapons. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis also says, tanks cannot fight alone or they die often to anti-tank missiles. And this is something I've talked about many times. These Western weapons were designed to be used in combined arms warfare, not on their own. The HIMARS was never supposed to be running around on the battlefield by itself. The M777 was never meant for the type of mission that the US has thrown it into in Ukraine. US tanks in Iraq, in addition to fighting poorly trained, poorly equipped Iraqi soldiers, they fought with artillery support, air power, and infantry support. They had all of these things working in their favor, and they had trained for this. It was well-rehearsed combined arms warfare that they used against poorly trained, poorly equipped, poorly prepared Iraqi troops. This is not the same situation that Ukraine is going to be using these tanks in. And then he concludes by saying Zelensky's troops already have a significant number of tanks equivalent to their opposition. Their battles will be won or lost based on how well they train, on what they have, how much unit level capacity they develop, and how well they maintain their tanks. Flatly stated, Zelensky's war against Russia will not turn on whether or not he gets Abrams and Leopards. And this is absolutely true. And this is something that if the US and Germany and Poland and the UK, if this is something that they really go through with, we're all going to see this unfold on the battlefield. Ukraine is going to use these tanks in the exact same way they've been using their tanks. They rush toward Russian defensive positions. They send as many men and machines as possible toward a specific location. They try to disperse their forces across a wide front so that...
I've discussed a lot of the L's of Stalin on my stream, but his legacy is still accurately measured by Mao of 70% good, 30% could have done better guy. That's right. We should be able to talk about that without like being hysterical about it or being weird about it. We don't need to be weird about it either. You know, it's amazing that you can't have a nuanced discussion about this person who unquestionably, inarguably was the head of the Soviet Union for some of these incredible, amazing achievements. You can't just say like, oh no, you can never talk about this guy's legacy or talk about it positively in any way. It's when you really think about it, it's quite silly, right? We can talk about the L's all day though. Stalin was a supporter of Israel, the creation of Israel. Huge L for the big man, you know? We can have like critical discussions about this. Non-hysterical discussions about this, but the idea that it's completely out of bounds or to ever suggest that anything positive happened under Stalin during that period, including it up to the defeat of Hitler, or because in our society we're just told that Stalin and Hitler are on the two sides of the same coin, and that's what 99% of people believe, I guess, that grow up and get an education in our society. But why? Why is it taught that? I think we're seeing the reasons why.
This massive advantage Russia has in firepower has to be divided.
Like we build statues to Churchill,
and they could only kill
in our society,
destroy so many men and destroy so many machines.
A genocidal, racist monster
gets through and closes that distance and begins inflicting losses on Russian forces, which are adverse to any type of loss, especially heavy losses, and are adverse to the prospect of being encircled. They will withdraw. The problem with this, as we now see in retrospect.
You can count on me. You're
The
gonna have good
Kherson
old
and
Rob
Kharkov
to talk you
offensives,
through all
is that
this.
as Russia withdraws, they may
We build statues to SS units in New York and Canada. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Comrade Social Distancing, thank you so much for the 2 gifted subs. Very much appreciated. Comrade Social Distancing. Thank you very, very much. And again, if anyone wants to subscribe to this channel, it's still, now is as good a time as any. That was a really half-hearted pitch. I'll watch more of this video and I'll get more serious about this.
maintain their fighting capacity. All of those men, all of that equipment is preserved. They can fight on later. Ukraine, on the other hand, even when they are successful with this strategy, they suffer immense losses. We're talking brigades and brigades worth of men and machines. 5 to 7 brigades around Kherson, 2 to 3 brigades around Kharkov. As Lieutenant General Mark Hertling has pointed out, and as Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis has explained in great detail, there is absolutely no way for Ukraine to use these tanks as effectively as the US used them in Iraq. And when Ukrainians go into battle with these Western main battle tanks, they're not going to find themselves in a situation where the factors on the battlefield were so lopsidedly in their favor as the US did in Iraq. In many ways, it's going to be the exact opposite. And this point that Lieutenant Colonel Davis made about how if the Iraqis had our tanks and we had their tanks, we still would have won because of our training. And not just that, but because they were also employing combined arms warfare, they had air cover, they had artillery support. All of these factors would have meant they still would have won. We're actually going to see that in practice if Ukrainians are given these tanks. And let's continue.
Thank you very much, Red Wine TRRS, for the gifted sub. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Ground these offensives to a halt in Kharkov and Kherson. Then, what have they done since then? They've mobilized 300,000 reservists, and they have begun creating huge defensive works in the south and also in the east. Remember this New York Times article, "Defenses Carved into the Earth. Russia is building a vast network of trenches, traps, and obstacles to slow Ukraine's momentum. Will it work?" Well, Ukraine has no more momentum. They're going backwards on the battlefield. And just scroll through, look at the images, all of these lines. These are all trenches and obstacles and tank traps that Russia is laying out. And so they're going to have all of the advantages that they had before, and now they're augmenting it with these defensive works and the addition of 300,000 reservists to man these defenses. It's actually going to be much worse for Ukraine this time, even with these Western main battle tanks. This is from the New York Times. Pentagon will increase artillery production 6-fold for Ukraine. Wow, that sounds like a lot. The Army's top acquisition official says production of the 155 millimeter shells badly needed by Kiev will rise to 90,000 a month in 2 years. So, well, 2 years is a long time for Ukraine, considering what's going on right now on the ground. But 90,000, what does that mean? At 6,000 shells a day, which is what Ukraine claims, at least they had been firing every single day, that's half a month. So, okay, the US is going to make 90,000 a month. Well, Ukraine needs double that just to fire 6,000 rounds a day, which is still much less than what Russia is firing every single day. And that assumes that all 90,000 rounds go straight to Ukraine and not to other places they're badly needed, like for US troops to train with, or US allies who need to replenish their stocks. So this, 2 years, this is a problem that is going to be a problem for years to come. Here's another article from CNN. Ukraine wants longer range missiles as Russia learns from its mistakes. It says Ukrainian officials say the Russians are learning from their battlefield mistakes and making it harder for Ukraine's missiles to hit their ammunition depots and logistics hubs. That's why they say Ukraine needs longer-range missiles that can reach inside Russia. Everything is moved to the southern regions through the Crimean Peninsula from logistical hubs in the Russian region of Rostov. Russia's logistics system is 80 to 120 kilometers from the front line, which means Ukraine needs longer range strike systems to target them. So of course what they're talking about is HIMARS and the M270s and these they're called guided multiple launch rocket systems, GMLRS. They're these GPS guided rockets that Ukraine has been using with the HIMARS.
That's the amazing thing, is just that there's been this, like, it's been a year now of just the endless deals. Like, we've given so many billions of dollars in aid, which is primarily military aid going to Ukraine, and people still don't see the writing on the wall of like what this is about. You know, we're just throwing money down this pit. We're just throwing money at these defense contractors yet again. No one loves a quagmire more than these imperialist weapons manufacturers. It's just a fucking burning pit. They can just create things and just create weapons and tanks and bombs and just pour it into this burning pit, this fucking meat grinder. So this is what this has been for the last year, just endless deals every couple months. Here's another 10 billion, here's another 15 billion, here's another 50 billion. Now Germany's sending tanks, now we're doing this, now doing that. And people still think that this is some like noble cause where we're trying to protect human rights and freedom and democracy. Going after those poor defense contractors, I know. Many of them are socially anxious. Small bean weapons contractors. All this talk misjudges the war, in my opinion. The point is not for Ukraine to recapture their territories by conventional warfare, but it's an instrument to escalate war by NATO against Russia. Missile attacks on Russian towns is the logical next step. I mean, I guess that's the thing, right? Is that they've wanted it is a war, a NATO war against Russia, but it's been carried out through these Ukrainian proxies, and it's like they're still trying to provoke that it could escalate to that level where they could get directly involved. But at this point, like there's so little difference between them being directly involved or not. That's the thing that I keep pointing out. You know, when NATO is just pumping in billions of dollars worth of arms and tanks and supplying like endless, training and diplomatic cover and propaganda, like what, from Russia's perspective, what difference is there really whether they're fighting against Ukraine or just openly fighting against NATO? Like they know, they've been saying all along that they are fighting. This is a war fighting against the West. It is a war taking that aggression against NATO. And like they've been proven right about that, throughout this whole thing. The U.S. won't get involved for another 10 years. That's their normal schedule to go after their former allies. Yeah, well, of course, once you go through the old, the 9/11/2 Azov edition in 2029 or whatever, then they're going to have a brand new quagmire to get pulled into.
70s that we told
they'll put boots on the ground in Ukraine and blame Russia for it. And that's another thing too, is that they obviously do have boots on the ground right now. Like we need to be honest about that as well, right? All these volunteers, these Western volunteers, I'm sure they're all just Redditors signing up on their own will and volition. And none of these people are being like sent, from whatever intelligence agency or whatever military wing or arm. Of course there's people over there. Of course there's Westerners over there. The consultants, the mercenaries, it's like, it's always been preposterous, the fact that we haven't been deeply, intimately involved in this from moment one.
We were told, turn the tide of the conflict. Now they need to turn the tide again. And what this article is also saying is that Ukraine is asking for ATACMS, and this is Army Tactical Missile System, in case you're wondering what it stands for.
Exactly. Boeing and Lockheed Martin are really suffering right now.
And this is what they've been asking all along. And so we see the U.S. sending M1 Abrams they said they were never going to send. I have a funny feeling that ATACMS cannot be far behind. I think it's only a matter of time before ATACMS are sent. But here's the problem. If Russia has already adapted to Ukraine's use of these Gimlers with a range of 70 kilometers, don't you think that they're going to also
Dylan Burns said Putin woke up and chose violence. Another former beef
Ukraine's
zone
use of a missile with a 300 kilometer range? I think they will.
Opponent.
And there's also another problem. Ukraine, because of their heavy use of these guided rockets, are depleting U.S. stockpiles. Just like with artillery, they want to expand production of these guided rockets, but that is going to take years to do. This from Lockheed Martin. Gimlers, the precision fires go-to rounds.
Another opponent left in Rob's wake, broken.
Right
Thank you,
precision
Amazing
fire
Bird Show,
solution for
for
every
putting that so
mission.
eloquently.
This is more than 40,000 guided MLRS rockets produced to date and climbing. Okay, so that is around how many Gimlers have been produced, between 40, probably 50,000. The production rates have been between 2,000 and 3,000 rockets per year. This is an article by The Drive.
The only man brave enough to pair what the U.S. omnipresent media Leviathan is saying. That's right. It takes real
war demand.
It's real Hunter S. Thompson iconoclast.
Artillery rockets to great effect, but even with tens of thousands stockpiled, the U.S. can find its supplies under pressure.
Agree. So they're promoting the exact same line as every single mainstream media establishment, just like Hunter S. Thompson. No, I didn't debate him. No, but he made a couple of videos about me or whatever, and then I instantly annihilated him in the marketplace of ideas and just kind of moved on after. I think he's like 23. Like I can't. I'm almost 40 years old. I can't be beefing with 23-year-old weirdos, right? I can't be doing that.
Getting the same problem that I have just told you about, and they're talking about increasing production from between 2,000 to 3,000 a year to 4,000 by when? By 2027. So again, another problem that isn't even going to really be solved a couple of years from now. They will expand production, but even a couple of years from now, they will still have the same problem of not being able to build enough. If this is the problem you're having with these guided rockets,
he went to Ukraine with his handler.
ATACMS, which are
his handler brought him to Ukraine. What more do you want? You got a tattoo that he's gonna have to remove in 20 years. Yeah.
So here, from Lockheed, who also makes them, they're making a lot of money from this war. Lockheed Martin delivers new production ATACMS missiles. This is from 2017. Keep that in mind. But it says Lockheed Martin has produced more than 3,800 ATACMS missiles with more than 20 years of on-time deliveries. More than 600 ATACMS missiles have been fired in combat. So 40 to 50,000 Gimlers, 3,800 ATACMS. You see the disparity in the number that are available, potentially available. And then if you think about it, 20 years, 3,800 is about 190
one of these days. We were looking at his tweets earlier. He's going crazy about these tanks. He's so happy about this tank situation. These people are so fucking bloodthirsty. These people are bloodthirsty. They worship death and violence. Not good people.
Per year, but
Paul
usually
Acero.
much less.
Oh my!
In this article, 2017, they
That's
talk
maybe
about
taking it too
only
far.
124 being made that year. So if
Ukraine
is having a problem with guided rockets, they're most certainly going to have a major problem with these longer range missiles. If Russia is able to adapt to the HIMARS, the guided rockets, they're also going to adapt to the missiles. And you say, well, Brian, if they have to push their logistics and everything back 300 kilometers, well, that's still better than what Ukraine has to do. They have to push it back 1,000 kilometers. There's nowhere in Ukraine that is safe from Russian cruise missiles and drones. Their Iskander missile system has a range of 400 to 500 kilometers. We also have to remember that none of these capabilities that the West is talking about, just even talking about giving Ukraine, these are not capabilities that Russia doesn't already have in abundance. So if we're imagining that Ukraine is going to use ATACMS to disrupt the logistics and the rear of Russian forces. Well, what do you think Russian forces have been doing with Iskander cruise missiles, Garan 2, and their own multiple launch rocket systems, including guided rockets? What do you think they've been doing this entire time, and on a much larger scale? So this is the fantastical thinking. We're hearing about tanks and missiles. We're even starting to hear about F-16s again. This is the fantastical thinking from a West that is desperate, that is not even in touch with reality, and they are talking about
might as well be 2003 again. The dirtiest word is de-escalation. That's right.
And I don't know if they noticed, but it seems
that's
to only
Putin
be making
sympathizer
Russia
talk.
Stronger, justifying decisions in Moscow.
Never heard that one before.
That they could never justify during peacetime, to increase military industrial output, to mobilize more men for the military. All of these things are now possible because of the West's belligerence toward Russia through Ukraine. Now, in addition to this U.S. proxy war in Ukraine against Russia, the U.S. is destabilizing other nations around the world, including along the border with China. I showed you this map in my last update. We were talking about Pakistan and southwest Pakistan, Baluchistan, where the U.S. is backing terrorists who are attacking infrastructure, and also Chinese engineers, Pakistani security, and Chinese diplomats. All of that is going on in Pakistan. Myanmar is a country in Southeast Asia.
This is what it's always been about,
China.
like we were saying.
China's Belt and Road Initiative infrastructure runs through Myanmar,
stopping the westward expansion of the BRI. That's always been goal number one.
In
fact, it's like, I don't know, you can't speculate on it too much, but remember, famously, Putin and Xi had a meeting last year, around a year ago, right before this kicked off. And I've always been very curious about what was said about that meeting and how much China was aware of Russia's intentions. And I would be very fascinated to know what happened at that meeting prior to the invasion. Because China's always taken a very neutral stance on this, claiming, calling for de-escalation. Russia's, of course, their an ally, a strong, like the Russia-China partnership, like I was saying before, is like the ultimate threat to Western hegemony. That's why the conservative movement in the States want to split apart this alliance and go after and contain in an effort to contain China, whereas the liberal side of the establishment want to just go after them both at the same time, which is just seems suicidal. But always been very interested about what happened at that meeting and how much China knew and how much they didn't know about what the Putin's plan was in terms of the invasion of Ukraine. Because it seems like even as much as America was predicting that this invasion was going to happen, I don't think they were just saying it. Like they didn't actually expect it to happen. Like, neither did I, neither did anyone else. Putin really kind of like shocked a lot of people by going through with it. You have to imagine that she was made aware of those plans, but I guess it's impossible to say. And you do kind of have to wonder if maybe part of it was about taking that pressure off China a little bit. And, the West has been trying to provoke that proxy war now for decades, and it was kind of about giving them that proxy war, which allows they're now so spread thin that they can't really contain China to the same extent. Maybe that's an element of it too. I don't want to speculate on it too much. Yeah, Obama's pivot in absolute shambles, for sure. For sure. Oh, same with me, Lennon Smash. I was absolutely talking shit right here on this very program 1 year ago, very confidently and loudly predicting that he would not invade. But as I've talked about it a lot, though, I did a lot of coverage of this in the weeks leading up to the invasion and afterwards. And I'm still, even though I was wrong about that, I put myself in really good company of sort of anti-imperialist content creators or journalists or commentators or what have you who were wrong about it. And overall, I'm still really happy with the coverage that I did do about it. I think anyone that was watching this program in the weeks leading up to the invasion starting, even if we might have been surprised by what happened, we at least understood and we had a concrete understanding of exactly why it was happening and what had been going on in the weeks and decades the weeks and months and years and decades leading up to it. So we actually understood what was happening, and it allowed us to not get swept up in this relentless propaganda campaign that happened. So yeah, I'm still, regardless of that, I'm still happy with the coverage that we did in this community, in the days leading up to it. I think we all knew, even though it was surprising, we all knew exactly the historical forces that had led the invasion to happen in the first place.
Myanmar, across Myanmar into China, rather than going through this strait, which the U.S. has openly talked about closing, specifically to cut off hydrocarbon flows to China. Let's talk about what the U.S. is doing to Myanmar, and I've explained it a little bit in the past. I have many videos regarding the situation in Myanmar, and I will put a few of them, the most important ones, in the video description below. Essentially, the U.S. has been backing opposition groups.
Cherokee Chocolate, I think that's what the point I was saying when we talk about this road to World War III, and kind of what my takeaway yesterday was about this in my analysis. You say China's going to surpass the U.S., and that's true. That's just like an inevitability, like we've been talking about it. That's as inevitable as the law of gravity or the sun rising, That's just what is happening. It just has to avoid getting sucked into some stupid conflict. They know that, and I don't doubt that they do know that, but I think the inescapable conclusion is that the conflict is unavoidable. Because as long as they surpass the U.S., there's going to be a conflict, whether they get sucked into it or not. We've talked before in Taiwan and elsewhere how they've avoided rising to the provocations of the imperialist countries in Hong Kong, in Xinjiang, in Taiwan. They've been dealing with all these provocations that have not escalated at any point. But the U.S. just isn't going to allow themselves to be surpassed without a conflict. So no matter what happens, I think that's going to be inescapable. Like regardless of how they've been trying to avoid it throughout the last couple of years.
Essentially, the U.S. has been backing opposition groups.
Sorry, I keep pause faces. And this is kind of what I've been saying as well, Lana, right? A tactical alliance against the West with China is something I critically support. But that's not the same as a communist bloc. No, of course. And like I was saying yesterday, it's like I would prefer that there was still a Soviet Union. I would prefer that there was a communist bloc that was challenging the West. Unfortunately, though, that option has been taken off the table. That option has been taken off the table by decades of Cold War policies, anti-communist policies of invasions and repressions and disappearances and coups and all the kinds of horrific violence that has been inflicted on these countries with the intentional express purpose of annihilating socialism. So, I would prefer that there was a communist bloc. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore. This is the anti-Western alliance that we have as a result. It's not perfect. I wish it was different. I wish it was a socialist bloc, but it isn't. This is the anti-Western bloc that we have to work with, though. So you either support this challenge to the Western hegemony or you support the West. That's the people that say like, well, it's all bad then. I don't support the West and I don't support this anti-Western alliance either. Well, sorry, you can't do that though. That's not an option. That's not an option. If you live in the West and that's the stance you take, then you support the West. Just say that. Just admit that. If that's the case. But don't say like, oh no, I'm anti-imperialist, I'm against the West, but no, I don't support this anti-Western bloc either. That's cowardly. That's a cowardly, ideologically incoherent position. Yeah, I would much rather that we had a socialist, anti-imperialist bloc challenging Western hegemony. We don't, though. This is the anti-Western alliance that we have to work with. So you can support it or you can support continued Western hegemony, but you can't do both sides are bad thing. That's not an option. Or you can, but yeah, it's childish and incoherent.
Hello? Essentially, the U.S. has been backing opposition groups, including militants in Myanmar for decades.
That's why it's called critical support.
Myanmar got its independence from the British after World War II. From 2016 to 2021, they actually managed to get a client regime government into power. It was headed by Aung San Suu Kyi and her National League.
They're
for
sending Stacey
Democracy.
Abrams to Ukraine. They're going to get all the Ukrainians to vote.
The military ousted her from power. She literally
Putin
had
must be
British
thrilled.
and Australian citizens in her inner circle working on rewriting the constitution, rewriting other laws in Myanmar, directing Myanmar's economic policies. I've covered all of this, and I've shared all of the evidence and documentation associated with these claims. The United States has poured millions and millions of dollars into
I was hoping it was J.J. Abrams. It's actually
Myanmar.
A.J. Styles.
If you go to the U.S. government's National Endowment for Democracy, this is how they fund opposition parties and separatist groups around the world. This is for Myanmar, which they're still calling Burma. This is from 2021. And if you scroll down, you can see how many programs are being funded. And any one of these programs, if you look at the details,
and here's an important point too, right? Yeah, anti-imperialist is kind of more important than how socialist their economy is anyway. Like that's one optimistic viewpoint of it you can take. Like the socialism can come later. As Mao predicted, he believed that the socialist camp would grow even more following this inevitable third civil war that the imperialists seemed determined to launch. So it might not be the perfect anti-Western alliance that we would like to have, but it's the one we do have to work with. And I guess that's our job as socialists and internationalists, is to try and make sure that influence is the one that wins out after whatever form this conflict takes is finished.
That say if China or Russia were funding a similar program in the United States, it would be immediately perceived as political interference, and everyone involved would be arrested for subversion and treason, because it is absolutely interference. And Aung San Suu Kyi herself has literally traveled to Washington, D.C. to pick up awards from the National Endowment for Democracy. This is one of the more transparent examples of the U.S. meddling in another country's internal political affairs and trying to install a puppet regime into power. Now, of course, because Belt and Road Initiative infrastructure runs through Myanmar, Myanmar and China are close trade partners, the goal here is to either turn Myanmar against China, and if that fails, the military throws your client regime out of power, then just burn everything down, attack the infrastructure, which has already happened. US-backed opposition groups have physically attacked Chinese infrastructure in Myanmar, and they're just in general trying to burn the whole country down at this point. The military is running the country since the coup in 2021. They want to have an election and at least superficially transfer control over to a civilian administration. Why Southeast Asia allows itself to be constrained by this concept of Western-style democracy, which was imposed upon them. It wasn't adopted because it was the best way to run a country. Clearly it isn't.
Of course it was.
It was imposed upon them, and they feel the need to go through the motions to avoid pressure from the US and from the so-called international community, which really is just the West. So they are trying to organize these elections. They want to transfer power to a civilian administration, but the US opposition is disrupting this. They are carrying out terrorist attacks against anyone and anything involved in the election. So we have this from Voice of America, US government-funded media. Uncertainty shrouds Myanmar's elections, and says a Myanmar junta spokesperson has told VOA's Burmese service that there is uncertainty over whether general elections will be held this year due to what he calls issues regarding voter registration and opposition attacks surging across the country, which
it is an abusive relationship.
Taking place. When pressed on the subject, Major General Zaw Min
these countries are going to eventually stand up for themselves.
I can't say for sure right now. All I can say is that we are working hard to hold elections this year. However, there are various subversive activities, he said in a telephone interview. Zaw Min Tan appeared to be referring to Myanmar's parallel government in exile, known as the National Unity Government, or NUG, and other resistance groups that have emerged since the junta's seizure of power in February 2020. 2021. The takeover led to the ouster of the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi and triggered widespread street demonstrations. Well, you saw Aung San Suu Kyi going to Washington, D.C., associating with the NED, and the NED funneling millions and millions of dollars every single year into Myanmar's opposition. So was she really democratically elected, or was Myanmar's
there's nothing more pathetic, Lana.
democratic process hijacked by the U.S. and the results of any sort of genuine election overturned by the U.S.'s interference? An obvious question to answer, really. So just like the U.S. did in Venezuela, or for a time in Libya and Syria, they have these fake exiled governments that claim to represent the people in a country they're not even located in. And the U.S. will either work to try to get them recognized as the official government of that country, or they will just outright recognize them as the official government of that country. In Venezuela, Juan Guaido was a really good example of that. And just to drive home the point that it is a completely U.S.-controlled opposition, I just want to show you a really quick example of some of the type of people who are in this parallel fake government that's not even in Myanmar. So this is their...
That's good. But talking about the parallels between Taiwan and Ukraine, that's interesting too. I don't think Taiwan is nearly the same kind of hostility that Ukraine, Russia has for the U.S. to play with. That's true. It's there, but the nation building project isn't quite as far along yet, right? It's been in Ukraine, it's been generational. In Taiwan, they're still not quite as where they need to be in terms of like this kind of creating this anti-China, pro-Western society.
Official website, National Unity Government of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, and we scroll down, there's the different ministers, and here's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this is her bio on the official website of the NUG, and they talk about her being a fellow in the Reagan Facel Democracy Fellow Program of the National Endowment for Democracy. That's what they admit in her official bio on the NUG's website. And then if you cross-reference that, you will see that on the National Endowment for Democracy's website, there is a whole page dedicated to Miss Zin Mar Aung. And if you read her mini bio here carefully, you will notice that she co-founded the Yagun School of Political Science, an NED-funded institution that educates young activists in the values of democracy. I mean, educates people in Myanmar to vote the way Washington wants them to vote. This is how transparent U.S. meddling in Myanmar is. It's never mentioned by articles in Voice of America or the BBC. If it was the other way around, if a nation was interfering in the U.S.'s internal political affairs this way, or a nation allied to the United States, it would never be acceptable, and we would never hear the end of it. And yes,
yeah,
this
and
is
if anything close to what had been happening in Ukraine
was
happening to the United States,
covers up. Just as the United States maneuvered a client regime into power,
bombed it into the fucking Stone Age years ago,
had Ukraine irrationally cut all of its ties to Russia, destroying Ukraine's economy, and then using Ukraine as a battering ram against Russia, they're trying to do the exact same thing across all of Southeast Asia, not just Myanmar. Myanmar's military fought back. They ousted this client regime. They jailed Aung San Suu Kyi. But as you can see, the U.S. is still backing violent subversion in Myanmar. The elections are being disrupted by terrorism right now. The Western media collectively is going to claim that they are sham elections and never talk about this element of U.S. interference. And the U.S. is doing this here in Thailand. I'm based in Thailand. There's a U.S.-backed opposition here, trying to overthrow the current government and put in its place an anti-China, obviously anti-Russia client regime in its place. And they will, Myanmar, if Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia is another country being interfered in, even Vietnam, they've been trying, Cambodia. If any of these countries were to just irrationally cut ties with China, yes, it would help isolate China, but it would destroy the economies in this region. They all count China as their primary trade partner, infrastructure partner, increasingly a very important military partner. Here in Thailand, for example, the majority of their weapons are being bought from China to replace aging Vietnam-era equipment bought from the United States. So it's very important to keep an eye on this and to understand that it's all connected to what's going on in Ukraine. The United States globally is trying to maintain its unipolar global order. They're doing it through proxy war in Eastern Europe. They're also doing it through this type of interference, including terrorism here in Southeast Asia. If you thought this video was useful, please like and share. Think about subscribing. It's free to do. It helps the channel grow.
Brendan, there's a lot of information available about this if you want to check into it.
Find and follow my work. All of the links that I referenced will be in the video description below, as will be ways you can help
through the whole
support
video,
my
John.
work. I don't monetize my YouTube channel.
We did it.
If an ad pops up, feel free to skip it or block it. It's not doing me any good at all. If you do want to help support my work, please do so through Buy Me a Coffee and also Patreon. That is what makes this work possible. And
folks, you know what makes this work possible? That Brian Paralitic video is very good, and I encourage people to subscribe to Brian's content. I'm going to link you to the channel right here, just so I'm not using Brian's content to benefit myself. But folks, you know what else needs to happen? It just isn't the same as if you support Brian's content, telling you where to subscribe. Well, if you support this content, then I encourage you to please join Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Friendship
TRRS
access
friendship triangle
and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. I encourage you to please subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed this content, if you enjoyed the work that I do here on Twitch, and if you enjoy this community, remember, the only way that this content stays on the air is through the kindness and the generosity of the community members and the members of this wonderful community that we know as the Friendship Triangle. And as you know, it's not a cult, it's not a pyramid scheme, it's simply a community of like-minded individuals and friends and colleagues and comrades. And we hang out and learn and grow together each and every day here on twitch.tv and explore all these like powerful geopolitical trends, and where I, the host of the show, Rob, do indeed talk you through all this. And the only way this content stays on the air is if people can subscribe and support it. And I really appreciate and love everyone that contributes to this channel, such as Bonbon C3PO a few seconds ago. Thank you for the 17 months of Tier 1, Bonbon C3PO. So if you... Oh my God, Miguel, that's a little...
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Taken a little far. Thank you, Pizzicata, for the 300 friend coin. Thank you very much. Remember, every little bit helps, folks. So if you can subscribe for $5 per month, or use your Amazon Prime account to convert to a Twitch Prime free subscription, I think that's what it's called, and you subscribe totally free of charge. You can get the wonderful emotes, some of the very best
you can count on me.
emotes
You're going to have good
on
old
this very
Rob
platform.
to talk you through all this.
Get those. You can use those anywhere if you enjoy talking about these subjects and these sort of geopolitical events that we talk about on this program. Get those emotes. Well, what else? I don't know.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
The Friendship Triangle has brought me
Get
much
the little pictures in
prosperity
your
less
phone.
than 3.
Thank you, Lady Cenobite. Thank you. It's brought you much prosperity. Congratulations to you on the 12 months, the brand new 12-month sub badge for Lady Cenobite. And thank you very much for the sub. I very much appreciate it. And I'm glad to know that this community has brought you such prosperity. And remember, if you give 5 subs or above, it rockets you right up to the elite level of the Friendship Triangle system. If you're a non-subscriber, you know, this is you out here. And you know, I do love and appreciate all the lurkers and all the non-subscribers, but this is unfortunately you. You're on the outside looking in, And when you join the community, it gets you into this base level. Gifting subs can move you up and down the different tiers in the friendship access and clout distribution tiered reward system. As many people operate in the chaos zone and enjoy that. Some people, though, after gifting 5 subs and above, rocket right up to this elite level. This is where the trickle-down clout is the most potent. So people can attest, people that are in this elite sect can attest to the levels of increases that they've had in their clout, which is what we're all after. It's what the whole grind is about, isn't it? That's what we're all doing here, right? That's what we all care about. That's what it is. And if you gift 5 subs and above at one time, you see a funny gif of me dancing. And for our very, very generous 10 sub gifters, you get a wonderful emote featuring Shades Rob, the classic TRRS peripheral character, along with an emote, along with an alert spoken by our friend, my friend and yours, Vijay Prashad of the Tricontinental Institute, who will be joining this program tomorrow at 3 p.m. Tomorrow, literally 24 hours from now. It's exactly 3 p.m. at this very moment. And Vijay Prashad will be joining the program tomorrow at this time, 24 hours from right now. Your telemarketer cadence is amazing. Sometimes, see, I don't want to do it now because I've already been doing it, but this is the best music to put on when you do this kind of pitch. And again, I know this is not everyone's favorite segment, but this is what I got to do if I want to keep this content on the air. The number has to go up. This is the inarguable truth of Twitch streaming. Anyway, so please now's the time. You're running out of time, folks, to subscribe to Twitch's only
of the Friendship Triangle.
To Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and clout distribution trickle-down clout tiered reward system. Join the community, get involved in the base level, move up and down into the chaos zone and the elite level of the friendship triangle system, such as our friend Gen X Bushy, who just gifted 5 subs. Thank you so much to Gen X Bushy for your generous contributions, and thank you as well to OnlyFax a few moments ago for gifting a sub as well. Thank you, OnlyFax. A lot of elite members of the friendship triangle system, folks. And we're just a few moments away from a potential hype train in which we can get access to wonderful new emotes and benefits from twitch.tv. So don't miss your opportunity to sign up today. Subscribe to TRRS. It will make your life better. You will become informed and educated about a variety of geopolitical events. You'll have the correct dialectical material analysis that you can use to win any argument against reactionary family members or former friends or colleagues. A lot happens in that good old chaos zone. I wouldn't want to talk about the kind of craziness that goes on there for those of us that are denizens of the chaos zone. You can subscribe free of charge. You can subscribe absolutely free of charge, folks. If you are an Amazon Prime member, just to convert your Amazon Prime account into a Twitch Prime subscription. Totally free of charge. It's totally free of charge, folks. Costs you nothing at all. And if it's not free of charge, it's $4.99 and not a penny more, unless you're coming from another country and converting your funds into American dollars, in which case it can be a little bit more, but that's okay. Because this community has helped you, hasn't it? It's helped all of us. It's brought us all together. It's made us all colleagues. It's made us all comrades. We're all dealing with isolation. We're all dealing with alienation. And at this time, this is when we need community. It's when we need friendship. It's when we need to come together. It's when we need to be together as a group, to learn together, to navigate these.
We simply use the computer
these times,
to mark up
these
the
days, these
size of
scary
the account.
days,
Help,
these
I'm
momentous
alienated.
geopolitical currents taking us into directions that we can't possibly understand. Thank you to OnlyFax for another gifted sub. Very kind of you, OnlyFax. Thank you very much. We are over half the way there, folks. We're half of the way there to filling up the sub goal. And wouldn't it feel good for everyone in the last episode, second to last episode of the week, prior to the conversation with Vijay Prashad, returning friend Vijay Prashad. Wouldn't it feel good to fill up the old sub goal so Vijay and other potential guests can see how professional and how this stream is a successful venture that they should be a part of? Wouldn't that be a great thing? The Friendship Triangle ID. You've heard of paid endorsements. Wait till you hear about paid testimonials. About paid testimonials. I'm sure many triangles will give their heartfelt testimonial. You can have a piss line like Wackass. That is true. I should start doing those. Don't just take it from me, folks. And I can start playing. I can start playing all your testimonials. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt, for the 200 friend coin. I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much to Matt, aka Unelectable Airwaves, another great subversive anti-imperialist Twitch streamer you should all follow. Thank you, Penguin, for your very first gifted sub in the channel. Very kind of you, Penguin, for the first gifted sub. Gets you into that base level of Twitch's only highly exclusive, highly elite, two-dimensional, triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. Congratulations to you, Penguini, on getting involved in that wonderful community. Please join the Discord. Please join the Discord community. You can have fun movie nights, such as what we had yesterday evening when we watched Ridley Scott's 1978 masterpiece, Alien. These are the kind of things that we do in this community. And it's very good and very fun and will improve your life and improve your mental fortitude, improve your stability, decrease alienation, decrease isolation, decrease hypernormalization. It will clear up your skin. Your hair will grow. Your friends will like you again. Your friends will say, "What is it? You got that pep in your step. You've got that pep in your step. You seem happy. You seem like you're smiling again. You've got energy again." Okay, I can't. Where's that coming from? Where is it coming from? I just can't continue to humiliate myself like this. I really can't find the window. I cannot find the window that's playing this music, which is the soundtrack. There we go. Which is the soundtrack to NHL 95 on the Sega Genesis, a classic sports game. That's all. That's the best I can do for the pitch. That's the best I can do. Or is it? Or is it? That's the question. Because you too, folks, can join Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system. Join the community that everyone on this platform is talking about. Join the community that has improved everyone's lives. Every single person that has joined this community, they've had a notable uptick in happiness, self-confidence. They're seeing it, they've got a new lease on life. Okay. I can't continue to do it. Oh, great theme. Yeah, written Round Ball Rock, written by John Tesh. I actually really love that AEW had bought the rights to Round Ball Rock to do their promo. That was cool. Anyway, thank you everyone for contributing to this stream. I appreciate it a lot. I really do. Thank you. Anywho, what else do we got here? While we're on the subject, we could take a look at this as well. Look, we just watched a video with Brian Berlatek, but I guess to continue on that tack, we can look at this video with Brian Berlatek, another friend of the show, Danny Haifong. We can check this out, and then I'll say goodbye for the day. Thank you again, a final time, for everyone that contributed to the stream, everyone who supports the show. Thank you. It means a lot. Thank you.
Happening here, and will it turn the tide? Is NATO going to be able to turn the tide in Ukraine, given that it seems like the battlefield situation has either been stagnant or in Russia's favor for quite some time now?
Well, I mean, it is very hard to tell, because when, say, the most recent U.S. Military aid package to Ukraine, when they announce this, there are things that they can send immediately and that Ukraine can start using immediately, like 155 millimeter artillery ammunition. But then they have things like these Stryker armored personnel carriers. The Stryker armored vehicle, it's a wheeled armored vehicle. I'm sure people are familiar with them if they were following the U.S. Occupation of Iraq. They used those quite extensively there. And there's many variants, but the variant they decided to send to Ukraine is just, it has a 50 caliber machine gun on it, and it drives around on the battlefield. It has light armor, and it's vulnerable to pretty much everything except small arms fire, which, I mean, the type of weaponry that Russia is going to be firing at these on the battlefield is going to be much more significant than small arms fire. So what it is a system that Ukraine has not used yet, and then they're going to have to learn how to use it, how to maintain it, how to sustain it on the battlefield. It is serving the role as armored personnel carrier, along with all of these other types of equipment that the U.S. and its allies have sent. They have sent the M113. There was like a Dutch variant of that. They've got British and other European armored personnel carriers. They're all different. They have different engines, different transmissions, different wheels, different types of track systems. It is such a hodgepodge of equipment, probably dozens, if not scores, of vehicles serving the armored personnel carrier role alone. And then how do we figure out when that's actually going to get to Ukraine? We have no idea, because they have to train Ukrainians on how to use it before they send it. So this is what makes it so hard to keep track of these announcements. And like you said, recently, since the new year, they have been announcing larger and larger quantities of weapons. And what it looks like they're trying to do is just throw weapons at the problem. The problem is Ukraine is losing huge amounts of men and equipment on the battlefield every single day. Their offensives ground to a halt. They threw a huge amount of men and equipment at Russian defenses, and they ground to a halt. And they're back to where they started before the offensives, which was falling back, losing a city here, losing a city there. I think a lot of people are looking at the situation around Bakhmut. I was just reading a BBC article where they admit that Ukraine now has announced that it has lost Soledar, but they're going to do a counterattack and take it back soon. So just wait. But they also admit that Bakhmut is at risk of being encircled.
It's so fucking horrible to think about the people that have to live in these fucking war zones as a result of this. These endless attacks and counteroffensives, and people have to fucking live there. It's horrible to think about.
And even the pro-Ukrainian life maps that indicate that is the case.
People celebrate.
How is that happening?
They celebrate this shit.
HIMARS, M777, all of these weapon systems, I thought that turned the tide. I thought the Javelin and the Stinger missiles, they turned the tide.
That's interesting. Only facts. No need to train when you got American operators inside the tanks. Volunteers, though, of course, though, right? Mercenaries.
That's the problem. And Danny, I'm sure you were following the proxy war in Syria. This is exactly what they did there. They just threw weapons. They had all these training programs inside Syria, outside Syria, and then it eventually crept toward U.S. military intervention directly. That's what I'm afraid is going to happen regarding Ukraine. It's incredibly dangerous. It was incredibly dangerous in Syria. Russia and Syria and Iran and Hezbollah, they managed that escalation very well. But in Ukraine, it's a different matter because this is just the Russian military itself in Ukraine. There are no proxies for the West to fight with or through if they decide to intervene directly. So I hope that's a good overview. I could get into the details of the different weapon packages, and I could talk about all of the problems of the Leopards. It just depends on what you want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Leopard 2 tanks, especially, you hear Ukrainian officials over and over and over again say, tanks, give us tanks. Like, we need the tanks. And they're even saying now, I think it was Zelensky who said about Ramstein, this defense contact, the air base that they're meeting in Germany. He said, let this be the meeting of tanks that leads to then the meeting of F-16s and then the meeting of long-range missiles. Right? Basically what he's saying is, let this be the moment where Ukraine gets everything it wants and thus allowing it to win this conflict. Is there any realistic basis to that? Like, could that ever be a possibility? Because it just seems like every time NATO throws weapons at Ukraine since February of last year, it's led to some progress. Like you mentioned Kherson in your videos and Kharkov, but then as you said just now, they threw everything at those battles, and
kind of what I was saying.
It didn't really change the overall direction of this war. So do you feel like the same thing, this is going to happen again if Ukraine?
You might be able to describe those as setbacks for Russia, but it's like, has it really contributed to the war ending or pushing Russia back to get them completely out of the country? No, it has not.
Like, will it actually, if let's say they get everything they want after this meeting, these tanks, would it change the outcome of this conflict or change at least the direction of it?
I just want to hear this answer.
It's just
and then
going
I'm
to
move on
drag it out
else.
longer, get more people on both sides killed, more thoroughly destroy Ukraine. The problem is, even if NATO were to fight Russia directly, Western military analysts recognize that Russia has a very formidable anti-access area denial capability. They have a premier integrated air defense system. They have all of these long-range missiles and rocket systems, guided, unguided, multiple launch rocket systems, and they have a huge amount of artillery. So this allows them to create a layered defense that is extremely difficult for even NATO to punch through. And that the whole concept of modern warfare is, it's not just about single weapon systems on the battlefield, is how they all operate together, and not just the combat side of it, but also the logistics and the sustainment side of everything. Your ability to continuously send ammunition, fuel, spare parts out to the field, your ability to bring vehicles in from the field, repair them, and send them back as quickly as possible. Whichever side can organize and coordinate all of these different moving pieces the best, they are the ones who are going to win. And Ukraine cannot do that with equipment they've never touched before, that they're just going to get a crash course on and try to use. And if we want an example of Ukraine incorporating military equipment, foreign military equipment properly, and it's still not making any difference, just look at the Bayraktar TB2 drone. They made the deal with Turkey years ago, and then over the last couple of years, they had Turkey come in and train Ukrainians. They test flew them. They established the infrastructure they needed to support them in Ukraine. And this happened over the course of several years. And then when the Russian special military operation began, they started shooting them out of the sky, and they had to keep asking Turkey to send more until they stopped. I haven't heard anything about the Bayraktar TB2 in a long time. Have you, Danny?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And so that is an example of, and the TB2 is not a bad weapon system. It's just not capable of doing what they wanted it to do, which was take out Russian forces that are protected by a world-class integrated air defense system. And so that doesn't matter what else you send to Ukraine. You send tanks. Tanks are supposed to go into battle supported by aircraft, both helicopters and warplanes, supported by a significant amount of artillery and infantry, with infantry fighting vehicles on the battlefield. And these are all supposed to be forces that are well-trained, crews with years of experience operating these vehicles, not just individually, but collectively in their unit. There's absolutely no way for Ukraine to do that. It's impossible. And it was exactly like the US and their allies thinking they're going to create an army out of thin air in Jordan, in Turkey, and send them into Syria and defeat the combined forces of the Syrian Arab Army, the Russian Federation, Iran, and Hezbollah. It just was unrealistic. And look at how it's unraveling. And we're looking at the exact same situation in Ukraine right now. It doesn't matter what they send. It's not plausible to send sophisticated, complex, modern weapons to a country in the middle of a war who has never used them before and expect them to use them effectively on the battlefield.
I wanted to look at this as well. Right? Because then we get into this whole thing when there's always been these like public, very public, like human rights atrocities, which have been used to build support for the war, to build support for NATO, to build support for this, like these specific Ukrainian kind of like nationalist project. These very highly publicized human rights atrocities. And again, I don't want to absolve Russia or Putin or the Russian military from, I'm sure in a war, terrible, horrible things happen. And I do not doubt that Russia has committed terrible things during the course of this war. It's what happens in a war, and it's disgusting. But the reason that I sometimes do think we need to ask critical questions about some of these like highly public, high profile events that have been taking up space in the U.S. media is because of the role that the CIA has played throughout the world in training Contras to engage in these kind of false flag operations and torturing people and killing civilians for this express purpose. Like, this is a documented method that the CIA has used throughout the world to undermine America's enemies. And we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's not a conspiracy or it's not Russian propaganda to point out that the CIA and British and Canadian intelligence as well have been deeply involved in arming and training these militia groups in eastern Ukraine. These right-wing militia groups, or overtly fascist militias in many cases. We know that the CIA and the Western intelligence establishment have been involved in training these groups. There's no dispute about that. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's just something that we know has happened. And we know this history that the CIA and other Western intelligence agencies have trained Contras and trained these exact same kinds of people to engage in the worst, most revolting, disgusting behavior imaginable that they can then use to continue to further their aims, to contribute to the propaganda, to destabilize their enemy. And I just wanted to look at this clip from Vincenzo Vinciguerra, a Gladio operative, to talk about this process, and why I think it's important to still, while not becoming, taking this chauvinistic view that Russia can do no wrong. I don't think that's the case, but that we shouldn't just immediately believe every single bit of like human rights atrocity propaganda that gets perpetuated in the Western media establishment when we know about this long history of these intelligence agencies committing these kinds of atrocities and using them for their own propagandistic purposes.
Bisognava attaccare I civili, quello che è il popolo, le donne, i bambini, le persone innocenti, estranee ad ogni gioco politico.
This is a former Gladio operative.
Bisognava obbligare questa gente, l'opinione pubblica italiana, a rivolgersi allo Stato, a rivolgersi al regime per chiedere maggiore sicurezza. Il ruolo della destra d'Italia è stato proprio questo. Si è messa al servizio di apparati di Stato che hanno alimentato una strategia che giustamente è stata definita
the strategy of tension. Again, it's not Putin propaganda. to maybe ask critical questions about whether this strategy of tension has been getting carried out in Ukraine, just as it's been carried out in Italy and in all these places where they've engaged in this kind of counter-revolutionary activity. In Latin America, in Honduras, in El Salvador, and in Southeast Asia, I don't think it's that outrageous, or it shouldn't be that completely out of bounds to ask this question, whether this strategy of tension is still being carried out today. And whether these, again, CIA-backed and trained groups, these fascist militia groups, are engaging in the exact same behavior that CIA-trained militias and Contras have engaged in all throughout the world. I don't think it's that outrageous to ask this basic question.
In quanto bisognava portare la gente ad accettare in qualsiasi momento, nell'arco di un trentennio, dal 1960 al 1985-86, la possibilità di uno stato d'emergenza. Quindi la gente avrebbe barattato molto volentieri parte della sua libertà con una sicurezza, con la sicurezza di poter camminare sulle strade, viaggiare sui treni, salire sugli aerei, entrare in banca. Questa è la logica politica che sta dietro tutte le stragi, che rimangono impunite proprio perché lo Stato non può condannare se stesso o proclamare se stesso colpevole di quello che ha fatto.
And again, there's been reporting on this done, right? It's not a conspiracy to talk about this. Oh, Jesus, the ads. I can't even get rid of them. There's been mainstream reporting about this, about the role that the CIA has played and the things that they have taught and trained counter-revolutionaries to do around the world. Again, we know that the CIA and Western intelligence have been backing and arming and training these right-wing militias in Ukraine now for years. We know that. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's been reported out in the fucking Ottawa Citizen, the tanky anti-imperialist propaganda conspiracy theory outlet Ottawa Citizen has reported on this. We know that Western intelligence have been arming and backing these people. So I don't think it's that outrageous to question about whether, what this training involved, and whether some of the propaganda that we've seen over the last year that's been designed to gin up support for this conflict and create support for this endless supply of arms and money into Ukraine. I don't think it's that outrageous to question whether that same strategy is still being used to this day. I don't think it should be. Anyway, folks, I have to go. I gotta go. How long have we been at this here? 3.5 hours. I gotta go. I have to leave pretty soon to pick up my kid from school. Okay? By the way, I got a notification a moment ago from Sinchal that Sinchal continued her gift sub from Dimitri. Is that it? Was that right, Sinchal, or what's going on with that? I got a notification, but it doesn't trigger an alert. So do I have to... Just in the interest of being totally transparent, wanted to increase the number. I'm having subscription menu difficulties. Well, thank you, Cinnamon Challenge, for your continued support of this community. I appreciate it a lot. And once again, folks, I gotta go in a few minutes. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please, for $5 per month, you can be a part of this wonderful, dynamic, two-dimensional, triangle-shaped community. Tomorrow, Vijay Prashad of the Tricontinental Institute, friend of the stream and my personal friend. Vijay Prashad will be joining us tomorrow.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship
goodness.
Triangle.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness.
You can count
gracious.
on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Well, well. Sin Chow. Sin Chow, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Very kind. And thank you also to OnlyFax for another gifted sub. I really appreciate that, OnlyFax. Thank you. Yes, so tomorrow, VJ Prashad, 3 p.m. I will be back noon Eastern on the dot. Noon Eastern on the dot. And then 3 p.m. we will be talking to our friend, my friend and yours, VJ Prashad. Should be very good stuff.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Calm like a Tom. What a hero. A lone hero emerges. Calm like a Tom. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. Oh my goodness. Coming in the absolute clutch. And we got to hear the alert. We got to hear the famous alert with our friend VJ. I wonder if VJ, he didn't consent to having his voice used to for me to get people subscribed to this program. Hopefully he's okay with it. I like to imagine that he is. Maybe we can get some more great sound bites tomorrow. The fans do love it. They absolutely just go bananas for this. Thank you again, Calm Like a Tom. That was really kind of you. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you. What a wonderful way to end the stream. Have VJ say when the cover band is starting with you. Get him to commit. I've got to follow up with him about Gaucho, and I do have to ask him about Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Very interested to know VJ Prashad, his opinion on this film. And we're going to get to watch Joshi as well. I'm sure he would be pro Joshi. Hey Doc, what's up? Yeah, you got here just in time. But Doc, tomorrow, VJ Prashad, 3 p.m. Don't miss that. Oh. Really is a great triangle of friendship. So many people have to watch my stuff and been so generous. Great job growing this. Thank you, Lennon Smash. Thank you. I'm happy to have you in the community as well. So that's all, friends. Give my regards to Marcus and our friends at Left Flank Vets. Putin propagandists, Left Flank Vets, who are against the arms transfer, so it makes them, they love Putin. Marcus from Left Flank Vets loves Vladimir Putin.